Welcome to Alchemizing Energy. Today we have a special guest, SAR Dr. Khosrow Ben Yehuda from the DIMONA African Hebrew Israelites. He is going to be showing us and letting us know about the Hebrew village of peace that is in Israel, and he's going to be interviewed by my special guest and also now a partner along a part of now Alchemizing Energy, the Mighty Hebrew. He is now going to be hosting a lot of shows on this channel. Please look forward to the things he's gonna be bringing. He's gonna be bringing some fire, you guys. So without further ado, we're gonna be bringing up this conversation. Shouts out to the Mighty Hebrew for bringing this special guest. And here we go. Show start.
Darling, let your spirit be free. Don't give up. Keep on pushing through. Now is the time. It's all up to you. Alchemize your energy, my friend. Let your spirit be free. Don't give up. Keep on pushing through. Now is the time. It's all up to you. The storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, we will always take flight. Keep on pushing through the darkness of night. There's no limit, let's reach for the sky. Shine so bright, from darkness to light.
Welcome to Alchemizing Energy. We have a very special guest, Dr. Khosrow Ben Yehuda from the African Hebrew Israelites Village of Peace in DIMONA. And we have our special guest, Prince SHAR LAN'DIIN, the Mighty Hebrew, who is going to be interviewing him. This is a special edition, and we have more to come. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Good looking out. How you feeling tonight, DJ Genesis?
I'm great. I'm in the backstage. This is your show, so I'm just gonna be back here. I'll come up if I have a question, but I really want you to give him his proper introduction,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go.
Absolutely. First and foremost, I give all praise and honor to Yahweh, the supreme, intelligent, powerful one of our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Those striving for righteousness' sake, I say unto the family, Shalom Aleichem. It's definitely an honor and a privilege to be here, Yisrael. But without further ado, I would like to announce to the people that we have a special guest, the Dean of the School of the Prophets Institute in DIMONA, Israel, Northeastern Africa, SAR Dr. Khosrow Ben Yehuda. He's been the Dean for many, many years. He was a direct understudy of the original Dean of the School of the Prophets, the late Prince Dr. Shaliach Ben Yehuda, the original founder of the School of the Prophets Institute in DIMONA, Israel. But without further ado, let's bring in the master teacher, the Dean of the School of the Prophets Institute, SAR Dr. Khosrow Ben Yehuda. Shalom, shalom. Here we go. Hey,
oh, my brother.
There you go. How you feeling?
Wonderful.
It's been a minute. Looking like you what's his name? Benjamin Button. You just aging backwards, looking younger and younger every time I see you.
Why not? Too much work to do to leave at this point. Yes, sir. How are you? How have you been?
Absolutely.
Good to see you.
Great overhand. Yes.
You look good also. Great, great.
So we want to get straight to the point. We've been having like many discussions about, just communal lifestyle and living and health and just topics on that level. So one of the things that I always address is what we're doing over there in DIMONA, Israel, Northeastern Africa. And we use DIMONA as like a blueprint to, you know, establish a discussion. So briefly, give us a brief synopsis about your background, who you are, where you came from, and then from there, as you get into that, then we'll start building as we continue on.
Okay, thank you. Again, I too would like to give all praise and honor to y'all and to all those who have stood for righteousness and truth to be the example for everyone on the planet who who have the vision of a better world. The Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem was founded in 1972 officially, but actually it was the vision of our spiritual leader Ben Ami Ben Israel, who in 1966 had a revelation, a vision that he believed was from the angel Gabriel. And in this vision, he was inspired to gather a remnant of those who were in the faith of the Hebrew Israelites. He gathered a small remnant and began his way into what they believed to be their ancestral homeland, Israel in Northeastern Africa. They left in 1977. They were originally located in Chicago, and they left in 1967. I'm sorry, they left in 1967, and they first entered into Liberia, West Africa. That was the location that had been actually set aside by the United States of America, Liberia, for any former African slaves who wanted to repatriate back to Africa. Liberia was had an open door policy to receive descendants of African slaves from America. They spent approximately 2.5 years in the bush, the deep bush of Liberia, but it had a very spiritual purpose, and that was to begin the process of eradicating the slave-orientated mentality and the whole experience of being slaves in the Americas. They had to eradicate that, that belief system, the value system that they had, experienced in America. And so the bush was the ideal place, because in the Liberian bush, they were commanded to depend on one another again, and to build up a strong sense of brotherhood and sisterhood that would be needed once they would move to the next phase of their journey, and that was entering into the promised land. Now, the the vision of Ben Ami was inspired by his Hebrew Israelite faith, and in that faith, he believed that the majority of the Africans who were transported forcefully into the Americas during the great enslavement system, European enslavement system. He believed that the majority of those who were taken from the West Coast and transported into the Americas were actually descendants of the biblical Israelites, and using the scriptures, prophetic scripture that was inscribed in the book of Deuteronomy, where it speaks of a list of curses that would actually come upon the Israelite people. And one of them was that they would be carried into captivity again on ships. And so there was so many other Deuteronomic curses that gave them a sense of identity as to who they were as they began to seek for their to recover and restore their true identity. And so they left Liberia in 1969 and entered into Israel. And that began one of the most phenomenal periods in human history on the recovery of a people who had actually lost their identity. When we entered into Israel, there was an open door policy for anyone who believed they were Jews and had made a commitment to live by the tenets of the Torah, that they could enter into the land and receive immediate citizenship and receive all of the social benefits, education, health, etc. And so the first of those African Hebrew Israelites who arrived in 69 were given all of the assistance to repatriate as Jews. It was later that the law of return was modified. And now it stated that in order to repatriate and to live in Israel as a citizen, that you would have to prove that your mother was Jewish. And so that totally disrupted the flow of entering into the land that we had arranged for our people, the rest of our people who were in Liberia, that were hoping to enter into Israel. And even those who were yet in America, who would not have to go through Liberia, but now they would enter directly into Israel. And so now that prevented us from doing this. And that began a long standing, really war of attrition, with the government, the Israeli government, and mainly the Orthodox and the religious institutions here, who did not want us here. They were not ready to receive what they believe could possibly be hundreds of thousands of African Hebrews into the land of Israel. And so eventually they expelled us from the educational institutions. Our children could no longer attend school. We no longer received the health benefits and the monetary assistance that all repatriates were given, returning to the land of Israel. But that was really, it turned out to be in our favor, because it was then that we began to create our own social institutions of health, of education, of building and maintaining a physical community, institution of economics, etc. And today those institutions are strong and capable of helping, as what you said, Prince, to contribute a dynamic example of how our people can actually survive on their own, survive with their own value system, with their own vision, for the future, by themselves. We are actually the largest repatriate group of former African slaves in the Americas who have actually repatriated to where they believe to be their indigenous, or what they believe to be their indigenous homeland. And so my job here for the past 25, 30 years has been in education, higher adult education. And today I reside over the School of the Prophets Institute, another institution, educational institution called the Institute for Regenerative Truth. I'm also a part of the international staff and the liaison to the United Nations and the African Union and the African diaspora worldwide. I've lived here. I repatriated to Israel at the age of 17. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, and I'm 69 today. I have 2 wives and 16 children.
Wow, you have 16 children.
Yes.
Wait, you've been keeping them 2 wives busy.
No, they've been keeping me busy.
One dropped, the other one pregnant, the other one getting it in, the other one. What you doing? That's crazy. Man, that's amazing. But man, you know what? This is a beautiful story. I have had friends of mine who have family members that are in Dimona. Like this entire story is amazing. Like you see a lot of people that try to do what you try to do, and it ends up being a cult. Like you have different people that have tried, but I'm seeing that this is a real true place. uh Go ahead. Here we go.
Can you hear me?
Question? Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So this experience, because I know, like you said, like in 1966, we see Adonai Nu, our spiritual leader, Ben Ami, he gets the 45-second vision from the angel Gabriel to leave. 67, we leave, and we stay 20 miles outside. This has been on me right here, Monrovia, Liberia, for a 2.5-year period. And then the first 39 men, women, and children, they influx in Israel. Before then, we know like around 68, we get Prince Yahu. He goes in there. The father Abagador leaves in there, and he goes through kibbutz and all that. So now you were saying we were influxed in the land. So roughly around 1971, we see the law return, the Aliyah change from believing in your heart that you were Jewish to now you would have to either go through what is known as halacha, European Jewish conversion, or you am I correct so far, Dr. Cosriel?
Yeah, and that's a good point that I'm glad you mentioned it, because that was the option given to us, that if we were going to remain, we would have to prove that our mother was Jewish, or, as you said, convert under the law of halakha. And we refused to do that, because what you would be saying is that you're not an indigenous person of that land, and that they would grant you the privilege, and that would compromise our biblical faith, our faith that we are indigenous to that land. So we had to make a stand, and it was rough. It was rough because for nearly 2 decades, we had to move around in the land under great fear and stress, because at any time they would just, pick us up, arrest us. Our brothers and sisters could be arrested and deported, separated from their families for years. And that happened. That actually happened. And so we had to actually make our own identification cards, and they worked. Yeah, and they worked in the city of Dimona. Dimona was a small industrial development center in the Negev region of Israel. That's in the southern part. And so most of the population there were, when we arrived, were Jews from India and Jews from Northern Africa. And so it was these were Sephardic Jews, right? And so they had a more African accent to them. So it wasn't we were not faced with a strong sense of racism and isolation by the immediate community. In fact, we became one of the center attractions of the city of Dimona through our music, our culture, attire, the food that we ate. Being vegans, was very interesting to our neighbors. And so we had developed a band. And Sister Monica, the history of Detroit, the Motown history. And we had individuals who had actually were members of the Motown industry who helped
Wow.
us build. Helped us build. Matter of fact, one of the sisters that I work with today, sung with who she backed up, I think Marvin Gaye. She was a backup singer for Marvin Gaye. I believe it was Marvin Gaye. It was one of the big the Marvelettes. She was a backup singer for the Marvelettes, one of the groups. I'm not 100% sure, but she worked with Motown for years. And so they helped we established a music industry that was phenomenal. And it was through that music industry that we won the hearts of not only, our neighbors in Dimona, but also throughout the land. As you know, in the early, 70s, where you had the Yom Kippur War that that occurred. I think was it 73? Yeah, 73 Yom Kippur War. And what we did to help relieve some of the stress that was just obvious, that was, the soldiers were living under. We would go and entertain the soldiers for free, and we would perform, all over the country. In fact, the band is what actually sufficed us economically for years. But yeah, that was a good point you brought out, Prince, that we refused to convert under that law of halakha.
I have a question. How prevalent is the music industry when it comes to the support of Dimona?
Well, they love us. In fact, that's powerful that you said that. Just a friend of mine, as a matter of fact, the sister that I just mentioned, her and some other colleagues of mine, they just did a concert at one of the largest halls. This is like the Carnegie Hall of Israel, and it was the history of Motown, because a lot of the population in Israel, the music is influenced by America, because you have a lot of American Jews here. Yeah, there you go, Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston. They came to visit, but the concert was the history of Motown, and it was packed. It was not an empty seat in the house. It must have been maybe 3,000-4,000 people or more in this concert hall. And so the music industry here, we are a great anchoring in it. In fact, my son is a professional entertainer, and he's performed in the X Factor version of Israel. He came in second place. He really came in first place, but they be sometime they want. It's a little discriminating factor still. And we've also represented Israel in the Eurovision twice. So they have a great admiration for our music. But the objective now is to cause them to have a great admiration and respect for our knowledge and our wisdom and our interpretation of Torah, so that we can help this land, the historical dynamics of this land fulfill their original purpose. Some of the greatest spiritual leaders who have walked the planet were indigenous of northeastern Africa, and that's one of the historical modifications that we've made. In terms of this land, we identify all of the lands, all of the geographical land, from the Nile River of Egypt, the blue and white Nile of Egypt, all the way to the Euphrates River, Euphrates and Tigris River of Iraq and Iran. All of that territory is actually indigenous of Africa. Those are African lands. And we utilize the Torah, an example that they give for the lands of Abraham from the Nile to the Euphrates as the reference for that. And so our experience here has been primarily to raise up a conscious community who could help the inhabitants of this land, this territory from now to Euphrates, to live out their expected biblical purpose, and that is to be the light to the world.
So I have a question.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know that there's a lot of I know that Prince Amiel Ben Yisrael, he actually had discovery ties with India Ari, and then you also had the late Shalom, the late the elder Shalom. He was in the original Sun Ra Orchestra.
Absalom.
You know about Shalom, excuse me,
Absalom.
the late, yeah, he just passed away, well, like maybe like 2 months ago or so. And he was a part of the Sun Ra Orchestra, and he lived in Dimona for many, many years. And you also have Elder Dawid from the Last Poets, that's a part of the kingdom as well. So you have a
Right.
lot of different, celebrities that are part of the kingdom. So let's get pushing forward. So you were saying, like, through the opposition, so to say, like a diamond in the rough, like, because there was opposition, we returned to the land. In 1971, we see this change of the law return because Israelites are influxing not only from Liberia, but also from the United States. So because of this opposition, let's talk real quick about the School of Holiness, because that was established. One of the reasons why it was established because of this opposition. Could you give a brief synopsis, the infancy of the School of Holiness into the Akbar Brotherhood School? Can you give us a little bit of history on that?
Sure. Like I was saying, when we first entered in, we were allowed to attend their institutions of learning. And let me preface with this. See, we did not come here to be an isolated community outside of the general populace. We wanted to be right at the very heart of the populace because we want to influence. Sure, it would be a challenge, and it was it was our ambition to not assimilate into their social value system, their social ideas, their religious structure and values. We did not come here to be a part of that. We came to lift up a standard, an example of what we believe to be the original and organic faith of the Israelites of the Torah. It's a little different. Remember, there was no Jewish religion in the times of our ancient fathers, so that was our objective. So when they expelled us from the institutions and we had to create our own, one of them, as the prince just noted, was our elementary education for our children. And it was called the Kingdom School in Holiness. And we established a concept, what we call divine dedication, not education. Because what we understood is that your learning process, when a child matriculates through a learning process, they're being dedicated to an idea, dedicated to values. Those who educate you, they are dedicating you to their values, their culture, etc. And so knowing that, we made sure that our children in this learning process were first dedicated to the processes of truth centeredness, whether it was in diet, whether it was in human relations, whether it was in how they would use, technology once they, would come into their different professions, that everything would be truth centric. We dedicated them to that process. And so in that process, they were taught to love love the creator with all their heart and soul and mind. And it was through that love that whatever profession that they would enter into, that the end result would be positive, truth centered, values and innovation, et cetera, et cetera. And so, but because, again, our greater vision was to implode, to get to the very heart of this society, and then help cause a transition for the greater populace to adapt these truth-centered values also. And so once the opportunity presented itself, we shifted from our community school to a public school. And it had a few advantages. One is that, again, it exposed our children to the mainstream, circles of this country. That was a great challenge also, because, the challenge was them converting our children into their value system. And so that's the very impetus of our social challenges, even as we speak in today. But this was part of the prophetic mandate of the children who were in the diaspora, the children of Israel who were in the diaspora when they returned home. We were supposed to convert this land, to help this land transition into its original and indigenous identity. And so making that move from the community school to the public school helped us in fulfilling that prophetic idea. And so, and it gave us access to different resources, to help the dedication process for our children. And we've done well. There definitely have been challenges, but the great part is that the Akbar Institute is noted as one of the most advanced and achieved institutes for high school education in the country. In fact, my daughter, who just graduated a few years ago, she was recognized as one of the highest scoring students in her graduation exams than all of the students in the Negev. And as I speak, the Akbar institution is acknowledged as being one of the highest achieving educational institutions in Israel. And so, we have educators from all over the country. Periodically, they come and they learn, they evaluate us, and they come to to see, what is our code, what is our process, what is the philosophy that we use to create this higher dedication idea. And so again, it helps us to fulfill the greater perfecting mission. Monica said something as we were beginning. I think she said something regards to most communities that start in this means, in this way, they end up becoming cults. That could be true. And one of the reasons why is because they isolate themselves, from the main populace, and they began to to develop sort of radical views and fundamentalisms that are that that are that are hard and very difficult for people to understand and how to engage. They sort of again, they isolate themselves from any kind of involvement from the outside. Now we understood that has a place because in the beginning, in our beginning years, we were somewhat of a closed community. We had to be. It's like, it was like an incubator. We were young. We didn't have a lot of the wisdom and the examples. We didn't have the experience. And so like any seed that you plant, the first process of a seed, it grows down. It's sort of, I would not so much isolated, but it's it's not exposed to the elements yet until that seed gets, real strong. And then at the proper time, it blossoms up, for everyone to see and to everyone to, take part in. And that's similar to the way our community developed. We had to enclose ourselves in this like incubation so that we can grow strong. And once we had that strength, then the next phase was to spread out and to allow the outside communities to see what we have to contribute and to participate. And so today, we're a very open community. In fact, we get hundreds of guests weekly. We have busloads of other communities that come to the Village of Peace to see, to take part, to observe this what they call this miracle in the desert. That's what some of the the media has recognized us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm gonna ask you a controversial question. I gotta come with a controversial question from time to time. So one of the questions is us being in the IDF in the military. And a lot of people from the outside not knowing what's going on within, they condemn that. They say we on the side of those that's committing genocide against the Palestinians, et cetera, et cetera. What is your intake of us in the military, our children in the military in DIMONA, Israel, Northeastern Africa? Give us an insight depth because you're right there, straightforward and direct. Give us a brief synopsis of our participation in the IDF and what is the purpose of us being there in the future.
Right. That is it's a very awkward. It's a very sensitive, part of our growth and development. And you cannot understand this point by viewing our participating in the IDF as an African American participating in the military in America. Well, I say that because there's a deeper value of our identity as being indigenous to this land. African Americans are not indigenous to those lands. And so they're actually participating in a system, and not just the military, culturally, period. That's a system. And when you get to the very core of its nature, its root, it's it is not designed for the well-being of people of African descent. When you get not just their constitutions and and their laws, but actually the very essence of what that democratic, Euro-democratic system was established for. Here in Israel, this is the land of Israel. This is northeastern Africa. And so it's our homeland, you know. And so the the difficult part is that this part of the world has been under siege for thousands of years. There's been war and rumors of wars. It's been a part of this country. And unfortunately, the powers that be, and mainly the Eurocentric powers who have vied to control this part of the world for so many, obvious reasons, they have caused these wars to exist. And so when you look at the Palestinian and the Jews, in fact, the Islamic, the whole war against Islam and Jews that has been perpetrated here, it's really a conspiracy against the people of this land. So when we entered into the IDF, one of the first principles was we had to help defend the borders of this land, because when those bombs are shot and fired over here, they have the potential of hitting our homes. In fact, a few decades ago, we had a terrorist attack right in our shopping center, which is about 5-minute walk from here. And the two terrorists that came in, they didn't discriminate on who was Black and who was white. They just came out of the pain and the hatred that they are under. They came to kill. And so we're not in the IDF as an offensive more so than a defensive. And you all would have to understand that our our being in the IDF is not one of a hatred. It's not. We're not there in agreement to the policies that the Israeli government are perpetrating against the Islamic people. We don't support that. It was, I don't want to get too deep into it because it would just be, outside of the maybe the comprehension of our audience. But there's so many different dynamics in that, in the history of this conflict. And we see ourselves, our position in this scenario. If there's going to be peace, we're the ones who could bring the peace. We're the only element in the greater sense of this Islamic Jewish conflict. We're the only ones that could bring the peace. So we're there, not so much to fight. We're there to defend and to try to negotiate the prophetic peace that can exist. Let me give you an example. The conflict is a religious war. It's not an ethnic war. If you go to the historic dynamics or even say the metaphysics of this idea of Hebrewisms, Abraham principally had two sons that are at the very root of this idea. He had Ishmael and he had Isaac. Ishmael is the patriarch who developed what is called the Ishmaelite people. And from the Ishmaelite people grew the Islamic religion. Muhammad was an Ishmaelite, but this is the key term. He was a Hebrew Ishmaelite because Ishmael was the son of Abraham, who is sometimes referred to as the first Hebrew. And so Ishmael is a Hebrew Israelite. So anyone who historically comes under the ideal of Islam in its more prophetic historical context, they are Hebrews according to a genetic line, a tribal line. The same is with Isaac. Isaac is the patriarch of the Israelite people, and the Hebrew Israelite people are the posterity of Ishmael. So you have Hebrew Ishmaelite, which developed the Islamic culture, and then you have Hebrew Israelite that eventually developed the Jewish culture. Now, it's a lot of conspiracy and a lot of manipulation and inculcation of religious tenets in that idea. But if you deal with it historically, the term Hebrew is not a nationality. The nationality was Ishmaelite and Israelite. The term Hebrew is more so a consciousness. So it's a way of life. It's a value system. It's a consciousness that the Ishmaelite people lived under, and a consciousness that the Israelite people lived under. And so in that Hebrew consciousness, the idea is to be a peace seeker, a one who is in a continuous process of spiritual growth and development. Those who are seeking to align with the universal laws and principles and values of the Creator. That's what the term Hebrew means. So any nationality, any tribe could be a Hebrew because they were Hebrews before Abraham. If you look biblically, if you go back into the biblical record, you see that there have always been people who have been inspired to reach higher levels of consciousness. You can even say that there were Egyptians who could be identified as Hebrew. And I'm sure maybe some of your audience may be familiar with the Kemet Empire, and the Himotech and many other Kemet scholars were Hebrews. They were Hebrews because they were in a mindset of aligning with, calibrating with the principal virtues and values that human beings were created to have. So if there's going to be peace between Ishmael and Islam and Isaac and Jews, there has to be a return to the first principles of what the Hebrew people represented. And that's why we're in the IDF. Even to this day, we have friends in Palestine. We have colleagues in Palestine, and it's a very difficult idea. You all seen movies, and I just use this. You've seen movies, and it's like it'd be someone might get attacked, and the person who's attacking them, don't really, know who they are, and they have to fight the person, not out of wanting to harm him, but to defend himself. Like I remember, this might help. I remember when I was a little guy growing up in Detroit, I was running to work. I used to jog to work, and I was running, and I turned the sharp corner, and I saw it was about 3 young men who had knocked this old man down and was trying to grab his grocery bags. Now, as soon as I turn the corner, Mighty Hebrew, I'm running up on this scene, and the old man pulls out a big knife, right? And when the young man see the old man with the knife, they immediately start running. And the old man looked at me, and he thought I was one of the boys. And so he ran at me with the knife. I couldn't do nothing but defend myself. You know, I didn't want to hurt the old man, but I had to handle him physically to get him off me because, you know, my life was in danger. But I didn't want to fight the old man. He was not my enemy. I didn't want to take something from him. So it's a similar situation. See, the Islamic people are attacking this land, and we have to defend it. We have to defend ourselves. We have to, you know, we have to participate. We don't want to, but sometimes it just gets a matter of protecting our lives.
That's absolutely.
I have a question that I'm going to ask, not to interrupt, right? So you mentioned that about Kemet, right? You mentioned that, you know, Hebrew is not it's a thought. It's Hebrewism is
It's a consciousness. It's a state of consciousness.
Exactly. So I am, if you are not aware, I am a Olarisha. I practice Ifa, Lukumi, whether it, you know, I practice Yoruba tradition. So what I've been trying to do is draw the connection between the Hebrew and the Yoruba faith, the Yoruba culture, and draw that connection, because one thing I do see is a lot of arguing when I like look at different like groups. They're arguing amongst each other about the Torah, but then I don't see a connectionness with when it comes down to a holistic practice. Now, from what I understand about Yoruba belief, it's not so divination. It has a holistic practice. It has divination. It has the herbs. It has the priest of that religion understand how to heal the people, and then it also makes it so that it's not just a certain group of priests. Everyone is a priest, and everyone is able to heal themselves. There are certain people that probably don't get into it. They're called a Leo, but for the most part, you have a big group of people that are able to, that are at some point able to heal themselves through herbs, through divination, understanding what's wrong with them. Divination not being a form of witchcraft, but divination being a scientific method to find out what's wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? Like to diagnose a problem. Now, what I found out is that a lot of the Hebrew Israelite community in America, you know, looking at the Torah, will say, well, this is witchcraft. The Torah is against that. So my question is that, was there a priesthood that actually like was able to, what is the holistic practice within the Hebrew Israelite community? Like do they look at the Torah and are they able to like look at that and know how to heal themselves by looking at the Torah itself and say, okay, because I know in the Odu of Ifa, right, it's not just a scripture of understanding of circumstances and things like that, but there's also an aspect to it that diagnoses illness, that has a psychological aspect, that also gives certain like, you know, prescriptions to fix certain illnesses and things like that. And what is the similar thing that exists within the Hebrew community that we can talk about?
Great. That's a great point. That was one of the things I was highly interested in when we talked a few days ago. I think that would be very important for your listeners in terms of identifying our Hebrew Israelite philosophy. What make us different than, I think, what we would identify as the Hebrew Israelites in America, the mainstream, and that is we have worked to remove all of the religious tenets that has been superimposed upon the Hebraic way of life, the Hebrew Israelite way of life. And so a lot of the the differences, the opposition that we may possibly find with Hebrew Israelite groups being seeing other practices as being, like you say, witchcraft, unacceptable, etc. Some of that often are due to the religious dynamics that even the Israelites themselves, according to the biblical narrative, the Hebrew Israelites themselves fell into religious practices. And their prophets and priests had always warned them of allowing these religious practices to come into their value system. So then the question would be, well, then what was the original Israelite philosophy and consciousness that they could measure this dynamic from? And so what we do, the Hebrew Israelites here at Jerusalem, that was, under the spiritual leadership of master teacher Ben Ami, we practice, we observe, we pursue what we refer to as Hebraic metaphysics. Metaphysics meaning that we deal with, we search for, we seek to align with the most indigenous and organic concepts of what it means to be a Hebrew. And you find this concept metaphorically expressed in the first chapter of the Torah, which is actually called Bereshit in Hebrew. In English, it's the book of Genesis. And in that book is where you find an example of what would be considered a holistic concept of the Hebrew experience. By the time you get to the other chapters of the Torah, and especially when you get to one of the most historical expressions of this Hebrew Israelite culture system, is Moses and the instructions that Moses gives. Moses is a very important or principal individual in the Hebrew Israelite narrative. And so the key to understanding the holistic vision that Moses had is when he interpreted the name of the Creator as Yahweh. That's a key term in this whole scenario. And if you deal with the etymology of the term Yahweh, the definition, its deeper first principle meaning is everything that was, everything that is, and everything that shall ever be. Now, that is an interpretation or an example of a holistic creation, because he was asked, the vision came to him in this revelation he was having from the Creator. He said, well, how should I refer to you? And the revelation came as everything. And so this gives an example that nothing in the creation can be isolated. Nothing in the creation, that there can't be any dualistic, nature. Everything must be seen, comprehended as one holistic experience. That's one. If you go back in the Genesis again, we get back to the ideal of Adam, because in the metaphysical expression of the Hebrew, Abraham is not the first Hebrew. The first example of a people that is seeking for higher levels of consciousness, higher and more exact alignment with the universal laws, it would be the figure Adam. He's the first. Remember, the Torah gives us the example that Adam is the principal figure in the Genesis. And it says he was created in the image and likeness of the Creator, Yo. So what is Adam? Who is Adam? You'd have to get a metaphysical. You have to get to the first principles of this. And so when you take the word Adam, and this is where the holistic idea comes from, you take the word Adam, and there are other words that are synonymous with it. They cannot be separated from the Adam identity. The first is soil. It's called Adamah in Hebrew. Adamah. Adam comes from that word. They're the same expression. Adamah means soil and elements. So Adam is not just imaged as a man. Adam is also the elements of the earth. Okay, that's why every element that's in the human physiology is also in the soil. And we need to eat from the soil to regenerate ourselves, because we have to eat from that from which we came. And so when you talk about elements, Adam also being elements, that means not only are we in oneness with the soil of the earth, but if you get into more of a metaphysical examination of this, where do the elements come from? Because wherever these elements come from, they're also a part of Adam, the man. And so then you get into we all know, anyone who's studied, in this area, that the elements in the earth are created in the cosmos, in the universe, in the stars. And it's the stardust that falls, to the earth that make up the elements of the earth. And it's a cyclical system of regeneration. So then that expands this concept of Adam, not just being a physical man, but it's also the universe. We're connected holistically with the universe. And even though the term Adam was translated to a man, but women are also Adam in the metaphysical sense, because it's an expression of the image of the Creator. And in Bereshit, in the Genesis, it gives the form of Adam as Zakar and Nikivah. Created he them, it says created he them and called their name Adam. So you have male and female. That's Adam. You have Adam in the soil being one. And then you have the term Dome, Dimut, and it means image. And so even though Adam is the most principled image of the Creator on the earth, but everything that's connected to the soil is also Adam. So that means everything in creation is imaged in the likeness of the Creator. That means the zoological sphere, the animals, all of that is Adam. The mountains, the trees, the botanical systems, all of that's Adam, because it's a holistic universe.
Ecology. Ecology.
Yeah, it's a deep ecology, life ecology. Right. Okay, I had to say that. I know it's a little extensive, but that's because Sister Monica made a great point about holistic. And that's a key word that's going to connect all of the the institutions that are seeking unity and seeking higher levels of existence, holistic is the key, because you can't separate, you know, yourselves, your movements, your ideas from everything else. Now, this is the key. What makes this connection, the value in this connection is that it has to be life regenerating. So anything that helps regenerate an ethical and principle, regenerating lifestyle, moral, regenerating lifestyle, is in the holistic phenomena of yo. And so
Let
when
me
you
ask
talk
you.
about, Mhm.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead.
And so
I'll wait.
when Sister Monica was referring to the holistic means of healing, you know, we we can see it. All we have to do, if it's if if the holistic idea is using plant-based, soil-based things in a means that are monitored correctly and understood and not understood, but are prescribed in a cycle for regeneration. I'm not a physical doctor, so I don't have all the language for holistic healing in that sense, but nothing can be taken out of the healing process also. You know, if it's a holistic sense of healing, that means that not only is it the food you eat, you know, but it's also the things you learn, the music you listen to, the relationships that you have. All of that is in the holistic sense of health. Relationships must be healthy. You know, entertainment must be healthy. It can't be unethical and immoral social activities and engagement. You know, that's all a part of the holistic idea. Okay, so I agree that we must look to the holistic idea. The problem that a lot of Israelites might have with some of these ideas is that they're working out of a religious dualist concept and not a holistic concept. Hope
Let me
that
ask
helps.
you this, yeah. I know since we all call, I know one of the things that we do as the African Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem is we eat according to the season that fruits and vegetables grow in. Like I know over in the United States, you know, they just eat at will. Whereas though here in Tanzania, East Africa, and DIMONA, Israel, we eat according to the season that the certain fruits and vegetables grow in. Um, does that not play a vital role in keeping us in the proper cycles and seasons? And also, could you give us a brief synopsis of healers in the community and a little background about the House of Life?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, first of all, you're absolutely correct in terms of you know, dietary consumption. It's it's required. It's better. It's more advantageous to your health to eat the food that the earth produces in that season. I mean, it just would make sense. If the earth is calibrated, the indigenous location you're in, it's calibrated to produce watermelons in a certain season. That should be the fruit that you eat, because we too are in human beings are indigenous to the lands that they originated from. So that's a good point. But this is another idea about, you know, the holistic ideal of health. Remember, we talked about the earth being Adam. What even science sees today, that the elements of the earth are living. It has a life source to it. It's living. Okay, the elements If it's alive, that means it has a degree of consciousness. It's not conscious like human beings. It's not conscious like monkeys. It's not conscious like an elephant or a dolphin. But even the apples have a degree of consciousness to it because it's alive. And if it's conscious, that means that it has a means of identifying things. So one of the things that most people, and even most religions, you will pray over your food before you consume it. Now that prayer is not just to be thankful for having the food, but your words, the energy that comes from your prayer over the food helps the food identify you. Because if it's living and it's conscious, that means that the food is calibrated to give its nourishment only to its kind. Say, so for an example, remember I said that the Hebraic ideal is a consciousness. It's a consciousness. It's a moral and ethical principled consciousness that make up the Hebrew, because the Hebrew is an idea that identifies your proper alignment and calibration with the laws of creation, the systems in creation, And so if you're properly aligned, that food is also properly aligned. So then when you eat the food has a consciousness that can identify the organs that it's getting ready to enter into. And if you are not of the proper calibration and alignment, that apple has the ability to withhold its energy from you. This is why you can have a vegan who can still transition at an early age. You can have vegans that also can contract diseases, because even though they're eating the right foods, but if their mindset, if their consciousness, if their ethics and their principles are not aligned with that truth-centeredness that I talked about the Hebrew having, then the food may not necessarily release its energy to you. So not only you should eat the foods in its right season, but if you don't have the proper consciousness, the proper alignment, the proper truth-centeredness as a principled human being that's in the image of the Creator, then that food may not release its energy to you. And so you'd be eating, but you would not be nourished.
I think DJ Genesis asked that question. You posted this up, so you can ask him that. Go ahead. You unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Saying, what about absorption? Certain animals help to absorb certain nutrients. So it's said that the protein from a cow or a certain, like maybe a goat or a sheep that is actually eating have absorbed a certain way, extracted like the certain nutrients from the body. So when you actually eat the meat of it, when you eat it, you can absorb the protein better than when you like directly absorb protein.
Well, I don't know about that, but you're correct. And that's why when you get to the Mosaic law, it allowed human beings to eat the flesh of animals. And we understand that because the consciousness of the people at that time had devaluated. Okay. But Moses prescribed only certain meat that you could eat. And the meat that he allowed you to eat were animals who would be considered vegan. These are not animals who eat other animals. That's one thing. The only animals we could eat were those that ate from the soil. Okay? The cows are vegan. So he allowed the lamb, they were vegan. So
the other thing I wanted to get is you were still talking. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the point is, why not go to the direct source? This is why. Because even though you consume an animal, yes, your body can extract the vitamin from it. But the problem is the content, the substance of the flesh itself does not digest properly in human anatomy, in the digestive system of human beings, which is one of the most uh, probable causes of disease. All disease fundamentally starts in your colon, basically, because the food that is not digested properly sits in the colon. Animal flesh has the possibility, the potential of sitting in your colon for weeks before it's digested and then eliminated. And it's sitting in the colon area that causes the toxicity in your colon, which causes 90% of disease. So the flesh itself is the harm. You may extract the vitamins that the cow is eating from the soil. So our philosophy is go directly to the soil. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. You was going to say something, DJ Genesis. I missed
Listen,
yourself.
listen, Mighty Hebrew, I'm gonna have to take a 2-minute break. Okay. So can
Okay,
you maybe go through some of the questions, and because I need to put my power cord in, or you're gonna
okay.
lose me.
Put your power cord in, and we can take a few pictures while you're doing that.
Okay, thank you.
And then when you come back in, then you can answer DJ Genesis question. We're live and direct from DIMONA, Israel, Northeastern Africa, Tanzania, East Africa, and the United States, speaking directly to the Dean of the School of the Prophets Institute in DIMONA, Israel, Northeastern Africa, SAR Dr. Cosmogenesis Ben Yahuda, who is a direct understudier of Nenu, Rabbeinu Ben Ami Ben Yisrael HaMashiach, along with Prince Dr. Shaliat Ben Yahuda. This right here, some pictures that you see of us at the Akbar Brotherhood School, that you see some of our students here. Whatever pictures you put up, I can explain them. This right here is a picture of the late Adonenu Ben Ami with the late Winnie Mandela. She came roughly like around 1998, 1999 to visit us. And her brother is also a part of our community. Um, she came out a few times. Here, right here, you see the late Ben Ami. You see Prince. Prince is that, yes, that right there is Prince Gabriel Hagador. In all white, he wrote the book The Impregnable People, breaking down our exodus from America to the Promised Land. And you see in blue Stevie Wonder. A lot of Stevie Wonder's clothes and stuff is actually made from our community. We actually make our own clothes. We make our own clothes. We also develop our own form of cotton that has been patented, that's being used all over the world. But we developed that. Right here is a Levitical priest. We have what is known as the prophetic priesthood. This is one of our chief priests with the Ifrod on his neck, and you see the 12 stones for the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. This here is at what is known as the New World Passover. We have two Passovers. You have the memorial Passover that we do from making our exodus from the land of Kemet, 1446 BCE. And then you have the New World Passover, which you can keep that right there for one, because I'm gonna explain that picture too. The New World Passover, which commemorates us leaving from the confines of America in 1967 to now. So people all over the world every year, it's a 2-day festival or maybe a 4-day festival. No, 2-day festival, excuse me, from the 22nd of May to the 24th every year. You can go to the next picture if you want. When you seen right there Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston, and they went, they started going back and forth to Israel in the early millennium. Um, and the late Prince Asiel, my spiritual grandfather, who was the international ambassador of the Kingdom of Yah, he made transition in 2022. August, all 12, most of the 12 princes had passed. There's only one left out of the 12, and that's Prince Garael. And now you have another body of princes, but they're new now, and they replace the original 12 princes. But this has been, Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston. They came to the Kafar HaShalom, the Village of Peace, Dimona, Israel. You can go to the next slide if you want. We can just bust it up and just chop it up. Oh, I see Dr. Cosrael is back. Are you back? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I'm back.
Okay. So
hold on here.
Everything's good. I like your garment.
Hey,
I like your garment. MDVAR, you boss number one. Go gun and go stunner. I said you boss player number one. Go gun and go stunner.
What that mean? What does that mean?
That mean you the boss. You the boss of bosses.
All right. I can't find the hold on. Let me get back to. I can't
take your
see all of
time.
my screen. Yeah, I don't want to cut it off either, you know.
We see you though. We can see you.
I know, but I can't see none of y'all. But I don't have to really see y'all. I'm good.
So
okay.
So my question is that, you know, and we kind of like skimmed over it like a little bit, but like I said, I'm a priest of Ifa, like a Olorisha. And what my goal has been is to connect the West African traditions to the Hebrew traditions. I believe that they really all are one. I don't believe that there's really any separation. Even the Odu Ifa, you can find that in the I King, the Taoist thing of divination. What is your thoughts on divination? Is it an evil thing? Because let me just say this: this is what the priests used.
Well, before you go that, Sister Monica, explain what's the term you're using. Say it again. Divination.
Divination, right? So you have
and what exactly is divination?
Okay, so in Ifa, Ifa is primarily a religion based out of the Yoruba tradition that a priest, Babalawo, might cast Obi Abata or cast the cowrie shells or cast the Akin or cast the Opwele, and that is what a person like a patient will come in come to see them, and they cast this thing, and then they're able to give a person a prescription based on whatever like Ifa says to them. So Ifa is the oracle. Ifa is like the Akashic record, and you go to that priest, then you get cast Ifa, and then from there you are given, like, if you have an ailment, if you are maybe somewhere down the line something might happen, you know what I'm saying, you might, but watch out for this, watch out for that. All right, so it might be a thing where you might be about to get into a car accident, or maybe your stomach is messed up, whatever's wrong with you. Now, in my opinion, this is the way that medicine was done back in the day. You know what I'm saying? These priests were they were the priests to the kings, they were the priests to the statesmen, they were the priests to the community. There was no doctors, there was no hospital. So however, a lot of times, like when I hear people, they say, well, the Torah is against divination, that you're not supposed to cast lots, cast OB, cast this, cast that. What's your opinion on divination when it comes down to prescription? Because I believe that these people were the actual doctors of the community. So if you didn't have that, then what? You know, so
give me an example of when you say divination. What actually is being prescribed?
Okay, So, for instance, I would go to a babalawo and maybe I'm not feeling too good or whatever, and I don't know what's going on. I might go to a babalawo and they cast OB or cast a keen, and it might say, "Hey, she has some stomach issues. Go and she needs like to do a bath using these herbs." There's a thing called the Odu. The Odu in Ifa actually like tells, it's connected to like herbs, it's connected to sacrifices, it's connected to a bunch of different things that people use to heal themselves based on whatever the prescription of the issue is. So,
Okay, well, the only thing that I could speak to in that is, first of all, back to the holistic ideal of health, no herbs will be advantageous as the herb alone. Part of the holistic healing is the mindset, the consciousness that you're in. Because just like I said about the nourishment, the food that you eat, that you consume, it's alive, it's conscious, and it will identify who's consuming it, the organs that it's entering into. Because the consciousness of the human being is in every organ in your body. And so what
I don't know if he like
It might have, he'll be back. We gotta wait for a second because I think he had to plug up his whatever his
phone.
device.
It's okay. It's okay. So, I mean, the main thing I was really trying to get at is that, the okay.
Oh, hold on, hold on. Talk while you go ahead, talk.
All right. So the main thing I'm trying to get at is that, okay. So you have like the Hebrew brick, aspect of diet, this, that, the other. However, there were no hospitals at the time, right? And it's my understanding that before there were ever hospitals, there were priests. And that is where I believe Ifa comes in, if you ever go to the emergency room or any doctor, you'll find that they'll come in, ask you what your symptoms are, and a lot of times you'll see that they'll go back to the computer or a book, and then they'll prescribe you medication for it. People don't realize that that's what they're doing, but that's exactly what they're doing. The Babalawo was the doctor. The Olorisha was the nurse, doctor, somewhat, what I'm saying, depending on what level that they were, almost like a nurse practitioner, right? So I'm trying to understand, like, when it comes down to the Hebrew faith, what is the equivalent to that? What is equivalent to a doctor in Hebrew faith? How did they heal themselves? Now we can talk about eating food or whatever and eating the right stuff and praying. However, like in society, there had to be a group of like people that were responsible for healing. You know what I'm saying? There had to be like some kind of an order of people that, okay, it's past eating, it's past what my diet is. This person is sick, right? So where do they go? Who are the priests that heal that person? What are they called? Because I mean, once we get past the actual aspect of, okay, I've eaten everything right, people gonna still get sick. Sorry, that's just the way the earth is. You know what I'm saying? You might go down to the river and drink the water, and it might have malaria in it, and you might have been eating right all the way, but a few mosquitoes get in that water, and it could kill anybody, the whole land. How do you mend that? Who are your practitioners? Because the reason why I ask this is because I believe that Ifa is the missing link to the Hebrew religion, and that's one thing I'm going to say. I think that Ifa is the missing link.
Israel, they got a whole that was the thing that Dr. Cosrell was saying. They got a whole holistic system over there. You know what I mean? They give them birth to their own children. Over 2,000 children been born naturally without dealing with any drugs. They have what you got. You got the Rofa and then you got the Rofe. One is a female healer, one is a male healer. And they actually have their own clinics where you can actually go. You have a problem. They specialize in all this that you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? They are experts in different roots and herbs. And when you're speaking about cast and lots, the Hebrews did that too. You know what I mean? There's so many examples throughout the Tanakh where this is done. There's so many examples where you see the woman, the tool that the Levitical priests dealt with. So we know they dealt with these things. So we have a body of healers that have been motivated in the kingdom of Yah close to 60 years and have been getting results, not just results. I was waiting for Dr. Cosriel to say it. Oh, he'll be back in a few minutes. But to say it, but you can get a book called The Hebrew Israelite Community, and it's written by a social anthropologist by the name of Paul Hare. He's a European. And what he did was he took experts from the University of Pennsylvania along with Temple University, and they went to Dimona, Israel, and they deemed the community in Dimona the most healthiest African Americans on the planet. So it's not just their diet only as vegans, but it's the whole entire holistic approach. You see what I'm saying? The way they eat. Like, for instance, in the United States, most of us wear synthetic clothing, polyester, things like that, that causes the skin to suffocate. And then in turn, it causes skin cancer. We wear natural fabrics, cotton, silk, wool, linen, right? And this causes the skin to breathe. So you won't see us mixing fabrics. You will see us when we deal with growing our own food. We don't crossbreed the food. You know what I mean? Or crossbreed seeds, meaning we don't hybrid the seeds. We make sure everything grows its own kind. Like I said earlier, we eat according to the season. And remember when the SHAR was saying how there's a consciousness, like if you eat an apple, there's a consciousness that's encoded inside fruits and vegetables that can be released to heal certain ailments within the internal organs of your body. So you heard the old saying, the apple a day keeps the doctor away. So if we are one with this atomic consciousness, so to say, by the way of an ecological thought process, when that Rofe or that Rafa gives you certain minerals and vitamins to absorb, it will release the energy to start to heal the internal organs of the body. In the Ivrit, it's known as the nefes, which we translate as a soul. But for us, the soul is the inner organs of the body. So it's a whole, that's why he keeps saying it's holistic, because the way he's thinking.
Here's the question. How do you diagnose if someone has an illness? And then from that point, like, is it just like, oh, just eat right? You know, I mean, there has to
They're literally doctors. These Rofes and these Rofas, these people went to like school for this stuff. They literally a school where they specialize. It's not a person that just studies some herbs on the internet. No, I'm talking about sociologists from around the world went to Dimona and they sat back and they did the research of these people. And the results, we beat high blood. I mean, all you got to do is just type it up right now, and you could type up something like African Hebrew Israelites and Dimona Israel beats high blood pressure, beats cancer. Like, we don't have cancer patients and high blood pressure. Everything that we are higher in the United States, we reversed it. It's not just a diet alone, and that's another thing. We don't call it diet and DIMONA. We call it live it, because with a diet, you don't want to die and be in it. So even our language is different. So the point that I'm saying is it's a holistic lifestyle. So when you see the child get up in the morning, it's a lifestyle. The tefillah, or the supplication and the prayers we make, the prayers in school, as it used to be back in the day in the United States, the children used to pray in school. They took prayer from out of the schools in the United States. They brought guns into the schools. So when you go to DIMONA, it's a different world. It's not like their lifestyle is separated from their everyday lifestyle. That is their lifestyle. So when you go there, it's a total holistic approach. It's, you can't separate the diet, or correctly the live it, from your everyday activity. You can't separate your conversations from your everyday activity. So that's what he means by it being a holistic approach. So a person can be a vegan, but he still die at the age of 30 if the vegan so-called diet isn't approached in a holistic manner, so to say. If it's just individual, I'm just going to eat good, and that this, if you don't have no communal holistic structure behind it, it's not going to be effective. It's not going to be powerful. But the results is from the scientific data. The scientific data shows in the Hebrew Israelite community book by Paul Hare that Black Americans from DIMONA is the most healthiest Black Americans on the planet. You got people over there living to be 120 years old. You got people, and I'm not talking about just one person, I'm talking about groups of them. You got people in their 90s still running marathons because they have what is called the Rockamine Games that they do every year. And I told you, health in DIMONA is a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. So it's you can't separate it. It's hard. It ain't even hard. It's just no way you can do it, because the whole village it's like revolving and evolving with, like, in an ecological condition, so to say. So everything goes hand in hand. If one sphere is off in the community, then Ha'adam in that holistic consciousness ceases to exist. So it's like you have an atom, you have a nucleus, you have a neutron, you have an electron, you have a quark. If one of them is off, then you don't have an atom. So this is what the SHAR was saying. He was saying, like, everything, even our educational system, we don't say education, we say dedication, because we're constantly dedicating ourselves to moving forward and upward in constant cycles and seasons. So we're constantly emanating. It never stops. So this is why we were able to make such a tremendous impact, because of the holistic approach. You see what I'm saying? We don't let our children run around eating candy all day. There's a certain time that our children wake up, a certain time they go to bed. Everything is predicated on this Torah-centered, holistic lifestyle. This is why our skin is radiating. You don't see women over there wearing makeup and extensions in there. All that's their real hair. You don't see these things over there. So the only way to really understand it is actually going there and experiencing it. See, the KOY, or the kingdom of Yah, can only be understood in absolute based on the experience of it, because it's an experience. It verse, I'm just telling you about it. Oh, he's back. Hey, my man with the master plan, they call him Sam, and I think you better recognize. Hey, Saul.
Yeah, but I still have a, yeah, but we still got an issue here, you know, and The problem was the I couldn't use my iPad because I couldn't
Okay.
download the StreamYard. And then the
Right.
computer, I had to use my daughter's computer, and she has a problem with her charging cord.
Well, by the way, guys, the SAR is 70 years old. Isn't he absolutely gorgeous?
Mhm.
Shouts out.
Oh, so you're
And
about to get you a
how many
third.
kids?
You're
How
about to
many
get
kids
you a
you got?
third one.
Well, I'm not 70 yet, dear. I'm just 69. But
Okay. You're
same thing.
When you turn
Same
70.
thing. And I turned 69 in a month at the end of the year.
Oh, okay. You turned 69 in December?
First month, January.
January. Oh, okay. Uh-oh. Yeah, the SAR is
You're
here.
about to get you're about to get you another wife. You're about to get you another wife, Saw.
How
You
many
know,
kids you got,
we
SAR?
don't mind.
SAR still having kids at 69, y'all.
Yeah.
He put Dr. Sabi to shame, okay?
Those
Well,
was saying-
minerals. Those minerals.
that shows the effectiveness of their diet because he's still able to procreate up in here. So
That's true.
I was saying, while you were gone, Saw, I was explaining you had a social anthropologist by the name of Paul Hare, and he wrote a book called The Hebrew Israelite. And inside that book, it speaks about the accomplishments of what we have done in DIMONA, Israel, when it speaks about health, our institutions of higher learning. Could you tell us a brief synopsis, the accomplishments? Because these social anthropologists, they came to DIMONA with, I'm speaking to the choir, so you know about this. They came to DIMONA, they observed, and they seen our holistic lifestyle, not just the vegan lifestyle alone, but veganism, or what we call live it or live it, that's all incorporated in the holistic lifestyle. And these social anthropologists from the University of Pennsylvania, along with Temple University, they come to the conclusion that the diseases that have destroyed the Black American community, us in DIMONA has eradicated, and we talk major low percentages of these diseases that we see in the United States. Could you speak about that briefly?
Well, it's going to be real brief because unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to log out in the next few minutes. And then I'm sure, Mighty Hebrew, you can continue on with the program, and I'll be honored to come back ASAP once I get the system worked out on my computer system. Okay. But
we can always do a part two. I know you probably get do a part two.
Yeah. Yes, Sister Monica, we have to do part two once we work this technical issue out here where I'm at. But the sure, the Dr. Hare, his book was a very powerful writing on the conditions that we've been able to I wouldn't say totally eradicate yet, but we've brought them so under control that we have practically eliminated the, especially what is referred to as lifestyle diseases. Because, you know, the saying is you have to die from something. You know, we've all heard that, you know, you got to die from something. True. But what is this something? It's cardiovascular disease. Well, then what causes the cardiovascular disease? Most of it is lifestyle, things that you eat, things that you play with, things that you do. And so once you begin to eradicate the lifestyle that causes the disease, then quite naturally you bring the disease under control and eventually eradicate it totally. And so back to, again, the holistic lifestyle. It's not just the vegan diet, it's the holistic lifestyle that goes with the vegan diet that's caused us to make these miraculous advances in our physical health. And so one of the things that we highly advise first is the transition diet into veganism. And then again, back to the level of consciousness. And so as Sister Monica she referred to the priest, the priesthood here in Israel, the DIMONA experience, our priests are teachers. And the fundamentals of their teachings is the truth-centeredness. This is what we refer to as regenerative truth that is able to align you with, the correct lifestyle, the health regenerating lifestyle, the marriage relationship lifestyle, regenerating lifestyle, rearing children in the regenerative lifestyle idea. So everything is factored, founded on this ideal of regenerative truth. And that's what the brother Paul actually witnessed when he came. He spent years, researching and observing our community. And that is what he found, that it was the way of life that we had developed that was the key to our longevity. But unfortunately, again, Sister Monica, I was very honored and very appreciative for you to have me on your show. And I'm looking forward to returning ASAP, because the little technical difficulty is very minor. It's really nothing. It's just a matter of the things that we spoke about earlier. And,
I have one quick question before you go. So
okay.
do you think that, so if a woman continues to have children, even past her so-called child rearing ages, it makes her live longer? Meaning that the menopause, right? Menopause and all that stuff. I believe, it sounds like to me, like we talk about regenerative and having children. Do you believe that, that actually giving birth to children at some point, continuing to do so?
Sure, I would say, in the ideal physiological system of women, just like with men, it could possibly be, and I've heard some of our doctors discussing this possibility, that with even the menopause idea, with more regenerating factors in your life, the menopause could be possibly extended, maybe even eradicated, just like a man's ability to produce the semen, the seed. It could be extended, or it could be possibly made to last forever. Because what we do know medically is that all of our cells can be regenerated. Again, it's the holistic lifestyle that has the ability to regenerate these cells. So in answer to your question, I would say that with proper lifestyle, the menopausal time could be extended or properly eliminated.
I'm going to tell you something really deep. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that every child leaves a portion of stem cells in your body when it's born? It actually,
sure.
Yeah. So therefore, I would see that could be a regenerative thing, is that every time you have a child, you have a certain level of stem cells. What they do here, right, is that they encourage C-sections, right?
Wow. Okay.
Right. So I had 3 C-sections, right? So what happened to me is that they said, you know what, you've had 3, you can't have any more. You can't have a baby vaginally because you had too many, and your uterus can explode or rupture.
Wow.
And so then they tied my tubes. After that,
okay. Well, let's use these last few minutes to hopefully, I'd like to say again, thank you. And I see some of the audience is actually looking forward to part 2. Let's set that up immediately. In fact, let's do it
Yeah, I
next week.
want to get into that because why are they? Basically what they did was what's the name when you not castricize me, or what is it called? Like when you make it so you can't have children.
Yeah. In fact, without due, Sister Monica, I'm gonna, if allowed, I'm gonna invite the Minister of Health to come on with this. Can you have him along with me and the Mighty Hebrew?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have to do.
Because
Let's do it.
I can see where most of your questions are leaning towards the health, holistic health idea, and he's an expert in that.
That's what we need right now. There's more and more.
So we can invite him.
Vaccines coming out, all type of crazy stuff coming out in America, and we're talking about P. Diddy and all this other stuff, man. Fuck, excuse me. Bump all that. We are going through a health crisis right now.
Exactly. Okay, so let's make that a done deal. Okay, and so let's talk
in the next. We have the Minister of Health come in. That's gonna be dope. The Minister of Health being dope, boy.
Yeah, I'll be there with him. Okay, so
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and
all right. So Toda, I don't want to get just cut off and end this in the air. So I'd like to say shalom, shalom, and you all enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We just had live and direct DIMONA, Israel, Northeastern Africa, the Dean of the School of Prophets Institute, saw Dr. Yisrael Ben Yehuda. If you can real fast, Sister Genesis, go in your inbox. You're going to see 2-3 minute clippings. I want to show the family something real quick because I know DJ Genesis is very adamant when it comes to health and the holistic approach. So I want to show these 3 clippings of showing different sociologists coming to our community to see what we're doing. And I think that the audience will enjoy it. I think one is like 3 minutes and 20 seconds, and then the other one like 5 minutes, something like that. But they're not long at all.
We gotta watch out when we play, so we gotta like talk through it.
We'll pause it back and forth.
You already know how YouTube is and all that, how it is.
Yeah. So we're gonna pause probably every 30, 40 seconds. We'll pause and then talk about what we've seen.
All right.
I love sugar. I love candy. I love meat.
Like everybody, I eat whatever I see and I don't feel bad about it. At the end of the day, it's just food.
That's what I thought. Until I landed in this unique village where 4,000 people live in the middle of the desert in Israel.
But unlike me, these people are very careful with their food. Pay attention to this.
This village eats zero meat. No meat.
Stop it.
Or chemical additives.
Stop it. So this man is a social anthropologist. He's coming into our community because he heard about a healthy lifestyle, et cetera, and he wanted just, feel this experience of a community of 4,000 people that he said is in this community, and he want to see their lifestyle and what's causing them. Like this sister right here that you see, look how young she look, but she in her late 70s. I know her personally. I know the brother personally right here. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Zoom in. She looks beautiful.
That's NASIK Eliashub's wife. I know her personally. I know these people personally. Press play.
Vegan food. They don't eat salt 3 days a week and don't eat any sugar 4 weeks a year.
Zero sugar.
They exercise 3 times a week. They have a mandatory massage every month, and they do not smoke or drink alcohol. Absolutely everything they put in their body is made of plants.
We understand that in order to maintain.
So now, and that's the That's the last prince out of the original 12 princes that's still alive. And he pushing in his, he got to at least be between 89 to 90. I think he just turned 90. So my point that I'm saying, I want y'all to see that it's predicated on a holistic lifestyle. It's not just them we just eating this vegan diet, that's it. It's a whole system. Press play.
Lengthy, healthy, optimal, vital lifestyle, we would only be able to put noble foods in our bodies, in these temples that we call it.
Instead of chicken, they make seitan. Instead of hamburgers, they eat rice patties. And instead of ice cream, they have soy milk.
When was the last time you drank milk?
1991.
When was the last time you ate meat?
1983.
Only thing I'm not agreeing with is the soy milk. Soy milk, nah. Soy
It
milk.
all depends because we don't take a lot of intake of soy. That's not good. But with our main ingredient is like coconut milk and almond milk. You know what I'm saying? So we have different types of milks. But yeah, press play.
And this vegan diet is working. Because according to studies, this village is one of the healthiest in Israel with very few cases of obesity or heart attacks. And when you walk around the village, you see many elderly.
See, these people are being studied. That's what I'm saying about results. When you get these social anthropologists and doctors and all that, and they come live with the community for a period of time, and they do their research, and this is what their conclusion is about us. Press play.
People looking young and fun. Some of them are 99 years old.
73, 69, 72,
82 years young.
And it gets even more interesting because these people believe with 100% certainty that because of their diet, they will live forever.
Absolutely!
These are the African Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem. It's a spiritual community that believes in the Bible. And according to the Bible, in Genesis 1:29, it says,
And Yah said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for food.
Stop.
But regardless of
Stop.
religion, this.
So, as the Saul was saying, we go back to the Bereshit, which means in beginnings, which is a continuous cycle. But for those that don't know, we go back to the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 29, and it tells us about eating from the herbs of the earth. The Hebrew word ha'adam means the firstborn of the first blood rising with outstretched arms facing the northern star, which they translate as man, but we know that the word man is a Sanskrit word, or the English word man goes back to the Sanskrit word manu, which means to think. The root word for Adam, ha'adam, is Adamah. So you have Adamah, which is the surface of the earth. So when you talk about ha'adam, you're talking about an ecological condition being born from out of the earth's surface. That's what you're talking about. It's strictly dealing with an ecology, not a literal man. Yes, men, women, and children, but it's deeper. Press play. I need you to go back there. Press play.
This community has something special. Thousands of them believe that their body is a temple. It should be clean, it should be healthy, and they do their absolute best to preserve it. This is why everyone should see this. These people are stronger, healthier, and live longer. And if that's what it takes to do that, then maybe it's time to put down the meat, put down the sugar and the candy, and pick up a new diet. See you
next week!
Now go to the last clip. Yes, hallelujah. I love to see my people. Yeah. So I can't wait. All my comrades in DIMONA, I will be there in May. The Mighty Hebrew will be there in May. Last time I've been there was last year, 2023. So I will be there 2025. This will be my 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be my 6th time going there. So I love it. I love it. Since I've been in Africa, I've been over there twice. Since I've been living in Africa, I've been over there twice. But in the United States, I went there 3 times. And then when I moved to Africa 2 times, and then this will be my 6th time. And sometimes I might stay like 4 months at a time or 6 months. It all depends.
Here's
It
a
all
question.
depends.
So you have alopecia?
Yes, I have alopecia.
Were you born with it, or did it happen to you?
It's genetic. It's genetic.
So I was wondering if like there was something that like happened that caused it, like over time.
No, my grandfather had alopecia, and even my father, he had alopecia areata. And then I have alopecia universal. Yeah. But getting back to what I'm saying, go to the next clipping. But y'all just gotta go. I tell everybody, just go. That's the only way you're gonna really comprehend it, because it's like you in a whole nother different world. Like everything is black. You know what I'm saying? Everything is us. When you go to the grocery stores, it's us. You go to their health centers, it's us. You go to the schools, it's us. You go to the living
quarters. A couple of other significant areas which we want to discuss in great detail are this explosion of artificial hair, these chemical imitations of hair which are being weaved into the scalps of many of the women in society. It's become very popular here, but it's very dangerous because, again, these two are very much chemically based. These chemicals, of course, when they become hot, are able to penetrate the scalp and then the bloodstream and be circulated throughout the body as well. Another area, for example, about the high-heeled shoes. And women know when you start talking about it, they have to laugh themselves because.
So what you're seeing right here, this is Prince Emmanuel Ben Yahuda, which is one of the divine princes over there in DIMONA, Israel, Northeastern Africa. And right now, he's dealing with the Ministry of Health in Ghana, West Africa. Many West African nations have called our community over to help make transitions pertaining to dietary consciousness in some of these African countries in Africa. This is a historical fact that the Ministry of Health in Ghana deals with our Rofin in DIMONA. Like we have influenced the whole entire continent of Africa. Wherever you see veganism at heavy, 9 times out of 10, they was influenced by the influx of Hebrews coming from DIMONA and, influencing the government of that nation. And from there, they start dealing with certain alternative lifestyles. Press play, watch this.
After a day of walking around in those high heel shoes, they can't wait to get home and get out of them because they place an unnatural pressure on their back.
There was a man by the name of Chanel. I think we've heard of Chanel perfume and fashions. And I'm pretty sure this is who it was. Chanel saw the way that a cat walked. When the cat was in heat, she would raise up her rear end and she would call her attention to the other male cat. She'd go, So he said, hey, that's sexy and it's alluring. So let me put the spirit of an animal on a woman and see how well it works. The high heel throws the back out of alignment. We don't need to put on a shoe that's going to send the wrong signals from the brain to other parts of the body.
It's important that if we're going to obtain our maximum.
So these are our Rofin. That sister right there is what you would call Rofa. So she's a divine healer. and she goes all over Africa and does lectures. And not only lectures, they have think tank discussions, they have workshops, and they also incorporate through experimentation the understanding of our lifestyle into like rural areas in Africa. Sometimes it might be for a 5-year period. Sometimes it might be for a 10-year period to see the results. I mean, we're all over Africa. I mean, we're in Nigeria. We're in Ghana. I mean, we are deep in Ghana. We're in Cape Coast. We're in South Africa. You name it, we're there. And we have the same replica communities that you see that we have in DIMONA. We have in these different societies in Africa. It's dope. It's just a dope experience.
And I wanted to say
You know what I
this
mean?
about the high heels. Like, you know what? When I was younger in my 20s, I used to wear nothing but high heels until my what's called Achilles retracted. I used to wear high heels so much that my Achilles actually began to inflame itself, and I had to go to the fire department because I was driving my car and it just snapped up, and I couldn't like press the gas on my car, and I had to like just pull into the fire department in the military, and I actually had to get like an actual boot put on my leg to actually flatten back out my like Achilles. So yeah, that, and I stopped wearing high heels after that, and after I became got into the Orisha lifestyle, pretty much like you can't put none on your hair. So I mean, yeah, all that. I don't believe in putting anything on your hair. And first of all, like the people that are like actually sacrificing their hair to whatever deity, you're like getting their karma. You know what I'm saying? On top of that, you don't know if they have lice. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you'll like be itching your hair. You might end up with lice on your head. You know what I'm saying? Be walking around with like lights from somebody else and on all types of. Then some of that stuff is even like artificial to the point where they make it from like some kind of plastic thing. And then when you go into it, it can be devious.
Yeah, I seen that.
Devious. So let me hold on. I'm gonna bring it back up and play the rest of it.
Regenerated health, that we were going to have to remove all of these things which contribute negatively to our health.
Hopefully, Ghanaians have seen the wisdom in adopting these simple but effective lifestyle activities. It has worked for our brothers and sisters in DIMONA. It can work for us.
It all begins with a consciousness that one wants to be healthy. And again, a consciousness that not everything that we have been taught to do is healthy for us. So when you approach the breakfast table, there has to be a consciousness about what is this actually providing for me. And we teach those basic ideas of what the body basically needs in terms of carbohydrates and proteins and energy. Fruit, we're saying that fruit, and you're blessed in Ghana with the abundance of fruit in the country that will give you everything you need, and it doesn't weigh you down in the morning when you're on your way to work. Again, if there's if you can walk, in fact, in some places in Accra, you could walk in the trotro. So it would be a good way in which to.
So you see that Ghana Ministry of Health adopted because they seen the results that was going on in DIMONA. So they contacted our Ministry of Health, and we went out there to Ghana, and the communities out in Ghana that adopted the lifestyle, they are much healthier conditions than the surrounding tribes that are around them. Whatever tribes, you had the like segments of the Akan that adopted the lifestyle dealing with health. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean they leave from their own traditions. We talking about the holistic approach when it comes to health. So one thing that's mandatory in our community is that you have to get a massage twice a month. You have to get a massage. You have to be. See, I told you it's a whole science behind this joint. So it's not just, again, just, yo, we just vegans. Like I'm reading a piece right here where the sister was saying how she had got a person said she got a, I don't know if it's a brother or sister, but he was saying he got a brain tumor and they weren't absorbing enough nutrients. And see, and that's the thing, most people in the United States, if they eating meat, they just go cold turkey and then they just be vegan and don't know what their body isn't receiving, or they might be taking in too much of something and not enough, or not enough and too much. So when you go amongst us, we examine the whole anatomy, you know what I mean? And we weed you off from the
But hold on,
former.
even deeper is that the actual farmers in America are using. So you might say, "I want to be a vegan in America," but then you might be ingesting pesticides. Apple itself might have a bunch of pesticides put onto it that's making it. So unless you're like consuming like vegetables from your own garden, you don't even know what's going on with those vegetables that you're getting. I even heard that, because my religion like required me to take certain baths that might have petals like from roses and stuff like that. And then I was told, well, they spray those roses with stuff. Even just the roses itself. Imagine when you have a whole bunch of like all vegetation, everything is like just tainted. You know what I'm saying? So we have to really understand that we are in a society that is based on like overdoing stuff, not respecting nature, not respecting how things should really be. And that is why I'm blessed to have people like Mighty Hebrew to talk about the things that are going on in DIMONA. So let's go.
Absolutely.
Get in that exercise and get back to a consciousness of the body needing to move, of needing air, of needing sunlight. So a consciousness, a mindset, a new way of thinking would govern everything that we do during the course of the day. It would govern what we eat, it would govern what we wear, it would govern how we think, how we teach our children, how we relate to one another. And again, that brings us all back to lifestyle.
If you look at it carefully, we can save a lot of money. And my aim to support the president is that I can also produce wealth. Don't forget also that you're talking about human capital. Everything that happens is happening through the minds of human beings. This is why in some countries, even though they don't have raw materials like we have, natural, resources, they can produce wealth just using their brain. And the development of the brain also is a health matter. It's an issue for health, because in the first 2 years of every baby, the type of food you eat is what really develops your mind, your brain, and what you eat in future. So if you want an intelligent, healthy, strong, and active human capital that can create wealth, it's health.
As the old adage goes, heaven helps those who help themselves. Long life does not come by chance. It is a decision to be made, and the choice is yours. Let us not forget, water is medicine. Food is medicine. Exercise is medicine. And rest is medicine.
It's a whole lifestyle.
Based. These chemicals, when they become hot.
It's a whole lifestyle. It's a whole culture. It's a whole system. And I just advise everybody, go check DIMONA out. Y'all love it. It's a lot going on. As a matter of fact, a good piece to watch is called The African Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem, A Village of Peace with Bab Smith. It was a BET special. They got it on YouTube. So definitely y'all can watch that. And it goes all into our factories. we grow our own. We created something called the water dripping system. And within this system, we produce 4 times the produce than a person that grow their crops and they produce that one. But we produce 4 times more. And now it's been adopted throughout the land of Israel and throughout the, certain parts of the world. So, yeah, and everything we don't have no pesticides, none of that. Everything we make our own clothes. We created that a certain cotton that we got patent, like the clothes that you seen SHAR. That's us. We made that. What I got on, it was made. So everything we wear when it comes to us and our lifestyle, it goes right back to the earth. You see what I'm saying? From which we came from. So it's definitely a holistic lifestyle, and it's a holistic approach.
Let's talk about like that, about like material, like when you wear a certain material. Like I know that if you wear a certain material, cotton, it has a certain vibration, and then that goes back into string theory, right? That's going to be even deeper. I don't get so deep into string theory about vibration, but different different types of like cotton or linen or different types of like things have a different vibration, and that can cause illness as well. So let's get into that real quick before we leave.
Yes, we when you read in the Torah, it tells us not to mix fabrics. It literally tells us that. So any type of textures we wear, it has to cause the skin to breathe. So we talking about cotton, linen, silk, wool. You see what I'm saying? So that's what we rock. So you won't never see us. Let's say, for instance, we won't have a linen top and a cotton bottom. The top and bottom going to be cotton. The top and bottom going to be silk. The top and bottom going to be linen. The top and bottom going to be wool. That's just how we do it over here in the kingdom of York. You see what I'm saying? So that's how our lifestyle we live according to we manifest it by the way of application. Versus you have people more in the States, they ponder on the scripture and they'll read it and they'll be like, okay, it's cool. And they might even take certain precepts. But over here, it's a whole communal lifestyle. We just showed you even right there with Ghana. You know what I mean? Like it's showing you, that there's a lifestyle approach to what we do. And matter of fact,
But hold on, real quick. I wanted to also differentiate what you are talking about versus, because the Hebrew Israelites, let's be honest, have gotten like a bad rap, because the only thing that we see a lot of times are the people on the corner yelling and screaming with megaphones. We don't really get to see that there's entire communities that really, and what their real beliefs are. We only get to see them cursing people out on the side of the road. So the thing is that I want you to differentiate and show the difference between what the reality is, what it really is. So can you like explain like the difference between what you would say, not to like separate yourself and to like put them down, but more or less explain what is the difference,
What I will do, I will present that like in another show. There are definitely differences. I mean, the major difference is we're a communal lifestyle. We have a communalistic lifestyle, a way of life. We're in a whole nother different country. We're almost 9,000 miles away. So it's definitely a difference, and I want to show you something.
You can show me that. Just send it to me. But why is it that there's such a like a disconnect? I would say, because shouldn't all of us be wearing linens? Why is it only the ones that are over there? Did these people over here say, you know what, I don't want to do that, whatever? Or like, why isn't all the Hebrew Israelites doing that? Why are some people just wearing cotton shirts and just put them up? And and making like belts and stuff out of like leather and whatever. Why are we not all doing the same thing? You know?
It's any school of thought. You know what I mean? It don't matter where you at. All schools of thought have their diversity and their differences. You know what I'm saying? We took more of the application by the way of nationalism. You see what I'm saying? Nationalism was the approach of the day for us. You know what I mean? And then you got to remember, even in the doctrinal differences, that's one of the major factors that cause, like you might have some Israelites that don't believe it's time for us to make that exodus, and they're waiting on a mystery God in the clouds to save them, versus understanding that you uphold the Yah mind. You know what I mean? God is the mind. You know what I mean? And I'm speaking in layman terms. I know that God is a dramatic word and all that, but for the common listener, that we decided to take our destiny in our own hands, and we didn't want to be those Hebrews that keep waiting on the good old Lord in a religious sense. So we took that step and said, look, we're going to do it this way. And this is the result. So, even it doesn't matter what school of thought you go into, you're going to have differences, but the best approach that I've seen, not just amongst Israelites, but I'm talking about all Black conscious communities. When I look at the social progress, and I remember those like your Marcus Garveys, your Denmark VCs, and your Arnold Josiah, your Rabbi Arnold Josiah Forrest, their whole objective was to leave from the confines of America and restructure ourselves as a nation again. And the only ones I see that's moving in that specific is those in DIMONA. They have set that not just an idea no more or a discussion, but we can see it and we can grow from it. Even people that might not even be a part of our Pacific community, as we see in Ghana. People are adopting certain things, but they're still keeping their own traditions. But when there's certain things,
Here's one last question. What makes it what? So say if a person say, "Well, that's a cult."
well, I mean, we can get philosophical. I say, okay, cult is a Greek word that go back to cultus, which means culture. So I mean, like, what is see? That question was already answered through SHAR. You can develop a cult-like behavior if you encase yourself or you encrypt yourself and you isolate yourself from the world, like these Jim Joneses and all these different cats. We are an autonomistic community, but we're not closed in from the outside world. You see what I'm saying? That's the difference. So it can never be a cult because it's a lifestyle. Remember, being a Hebrew Israelite, you have land, you have language, you have lifestyle, you have culture, dress. When you go to DIMONA, the average person over there is speaking like 3-4 languages. Everybody knows how to speak Hebrew and English. You know what I mean? Most people in DIMONA, they speak Hebrew unless visitors come, and then they speak English to the people. But it's a lifestyle. That's the only way I can explain it. You can tell a cult, everybody just circle around this one charismatic leader, and they turn around, they might start praying to him, or, and they separate you from your family. These are certain things that you can identify a cult. You know what I mean? When that community, they want to take your passport. They don't want you to be connected to your family. They take all you might have some savings, or you might have, your mother might have left you some money, your father, then they take it from you. Wow. And then at the same time, these leaders, they live lavish while you in poverty. over in DIMONA, we have a system called All Things in Common. So you're gonna, Ben Ami, he lived in what we define as the Rock. That's the name of that we call this house, the Rock. But Ben Ami was never a type of person that you couldn't approach him or you couldn't approach our leaders. He rolled with just where everybody else, even though he was the one that was guided by the vision of the ancestor Gabriel to lead us out. But there was never like this thing like, I'm a prince, so I am better than you. No, a prince for us is a servant to the people. So having that understanding, it's not one dominating over another. You just have a governmental structure, a theocratic or what we call a yocratic governmental structure. So no, there's no cult-like behavior. Now, in the beginning of our inception, we were a strong knitted community because naturally, when you're going into a land that you haven't been in over 2,000 years, and now you're trying to be that heartbeat of the country in our beginning stages as a child, we went a close-knit community. But as a child grows and develops from a child to a teenager to an adult, then our horizons and our concepts started to broaden more, which we started to expand throughout, not only throughout Israel, but throughout Africa and all over the world. You're not going to see like a cult all over the world. You know what I mean? In the sense of having these satellite communal livings, they're just going to be like the Jonestown, South America. You had this guy that I'm saying worked for the CIA. It was all experimental. Jim Jones had these guys drink some cyanide, isolated these people, took them away from their families, and gave them this prophetic apocalyptic understanding that the end of the world was near. If you notice all these cults, whether you talking about the YISRAELs from California, whether if you talking about Waco, Texas, and David Caress and all these different people, they all centered themselves as being Jesus Christ or Jesus the Christ. And their followers basically centered themselves around or matter of fact, circled themselves, around this one leader to the point it cost their lives. It cost their lives. So it's depth. This is our heritage as Hebrew Israelite. This is our heritage. This is our culture. This is our identity. So it's not a thing that this is a cult. And I know that the media, they put these things out there. You got to understand what the media has done. And not just the media alone. Many that are in the Black conscious community has used the media as a template, so to say, to discredit Israelites. So what do? They usually use what we know as One West Hebrew Israelites. One West is the original One West camp is known as UPK, Universal Practical Knowledge. They developed in 1969 out of Harlem, New York. UPK wind up manifesting certain splinter groups. Out of these splinter groups, you get stuff like Lions of Israel, GMS, Sons of Thunder, House of Israel, Sakari, ISUBK. The list goes on and on. GOCC. So you get these different splinter groups and they go out on the streets and you see them on the corner and automatically you think of the Black Hebrew Israelites. That's a term that the United States government gave us, that term Black Hebrew Israelite, under something called Project Megiddo. Project Megiddo was developed in 1999, which was an act that was defining the Hebrew Israelites as domestic terrorists, or they had the potential of being domestic terrorists during the time of the Y2K epidemic. So this term Black Hebrew Israelite became coined, and then you get the Southern Poverty and all these different cats that's pushing this. So then you get the Black conscious community. When they attack Israelites, they basically paint this brush of Israelites being the same, not understanding that the Hebrew Israelite community been in existence hundreds of years in the United States before, before the first UBK in 1969 came. The first documented recorded Israelite communities, we have ex-slaves going into Virginia known as Israel Hill in 1798. So from there, you start seeing, after the Civil War, you're seeing the rise of the Hebrew Israelite movement from your prophet F.S. or Frank S. Cherry, 1886. Then you see Prophet William S. Crowley, 1896. You're seeing Rabbi Leon Richelieu out in Brooklyn, New York, who created the Moorish Zionist Temple of the Moorish Jews in 1899. You're seeing people like Rabbi Arnold Josiah Ford coming from Barbados. This is 1913. Then you get from St. Kitts, Rabbi Wentworth A. Matthews, who created the Commandment Keepers, or the Ethiopian Hebrews of the Royal Seal. So you're seeing this mass movement of Hebrew Israelites in the early 20th century, you know what I mean? And coming out of the 19th century to the early 20th century. So you're seeing this catharsis take place, and then it blossomed. Then you're seeing more of the movement. Now you're getting Rabbi Washington, Rabbi Lent, Mother Louise Deli, and so many others until you get what you get today. So it was a process. Some people, based upon their teachers, they felt as though it wasn't the time for us to leave from the confines of the United States of America, where you had others like Ben Ami and all them raised their hand to the elders out in Chicago, like, if this land is ours, Israel, why don't we just return back to the land? So it was the younger generation of the 60s. Remember, the 60s is which sparked consciousness, went to a whole nother level. It went to a whole nother level. You got the Black Power movement. You got the Civil Rights movement. They burning and they rioting in the street. They want change. They want social equality, social justice. They want change. And when that little hand rose up at the time, Ben Ami was 27 years old. And he said it in 1965. He said, if Israel is our land, why don't we just go back? And that right there was the spark of us now returning back to the land. And this exodus has been going on since the 1960s, even to this day. That's why I'm here. I'm a part of that wave of first recognizing these men and women that made that impact, and then contacting these men and women, and then growing. Like, I've been in the coaching now going on 33 years, over 3 decades. So, and then getting involved. And I've been involved over 3 decades, and I only been back home for 3 years.
So I have a question. So here's the question. So you have like some of those like Hebrew Israelites that get on the corner, and then you have a woman come up, and then they begin chanting, "You're a slut, you're a slut." I remember my first introduction into the Hebrew Israelites was that video. It was, I think, with the GMS. They were on the corner. Yeah. And they were so radicalized that I guess a woman came up to say something, and they just started to chant, "You're a slut." And it
I've seen that video before. I've seen that video.
It was,
but
awesome.
That's not. Yeah, I've seen that video before.
See Hebrew Israelites. So imagine a person like me.
And that's the thing. Like, we as a people have to be more like, and I'm not saying you per se, but we as a people have to be more mindful and practical that you got radicalism in everything. You know what I mean? If you go to Islam, you got the extreme Muslims. You know, you might have some Shiites. You know what I mean? That's considered more extreme. Then the Sufi. You always gonna have that the zealots in your community, and then you also gonna have those that are esoteric in base, like in Islam. The most pious are known as your Salafi. But then those that deal with higher states of consciousness are your Sufis. So you're going to have this in all walks of life. I'm just using that as example to show that you're going to have, like, for instance, you have, like, in the Kemetic school of thought, you Shalom, shalom. Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So I'm sorry, I'm talking this whole time and you can't hear anything. I had a whole diatribe and no one could hear me. But the reason why I was asking about the You're a Slut situation is because I've heard a lot of like negative aspects of how Hebrew Israelites treat the women. So I want to understand like what are the differences and what is like the what are y'all's thing when it comes to women? Like, are women on like lesser than? Are they like covered up? Like, whatever. So, go into.
I mean, yeah, they cover it up, but let's make it clear. Men and women in our community are equal, but equality doesn't mean sameness. Our roles are different, our perspectives are different, but the responsibility is shared. Let me repeat that one more time. Men and women in our community in DIMONA are equal, but equality does not mean sameness. Our roles are different, our perspectives are different, but the responsibility is shared. Again, I mean, I know what's going on in the United States, and this is not all Hebrew communities. Most Hebrew communities are not like that. What they're channeling and focusing on is what is identified as One West camps. The ones that go out on the street corners are One West camps. You have very few non-One West camps that go on the street corner. Originally, it didn't start with the One West camps. Originally, Israelites in general were going on the street corners. I can take you back from the records that I've seen. I've seen William S. Crawley on street corners roughly around like 1897. Like he was the one that actually started the street corner teachings. you know, and he was a former slave. He was born in Maryland in 1847. But what you see that's going on with this newer generation, the original Israelites back in the day when I was coming up, they wasn't running around calling women sluts and whores. Israelites been on the street corners for years. This is a new phenomenon that's taking place. The new millennium Israelites are doing that. And a lot of this is grown from out of social media and mainly from out of, you know, and I'm not trying to like point at people, but there's certain negative connotations that were put out there by certain camps and these Israelite religio communities, so to say. And what they did was they mimicked these type of behaviors, or the younger generation mimic what they seen, what was being broadcast on social media. And in that retrospect, in turn, you got different Israelite camps from out of these One West that disrespect women on the street. I mean, it's true. But this is not the bulk of the Israelite community. Most Hebrew Israelites are respected, 9 to 5 working day people. And the Israelite community is way bigger than the One West community. That's what they just using on social media. That's propaganda. And I'm not saying that they're dealing with propaganda. I'm saying what the media is displaying. The media is putting in the mind, this is the Israelites, the black Hebrew Israelites. They radical. They wear these black leather belts, spikes on corners, calling women bitches and whores, and this negative
They're
connotation.
misogynist. They're beating up the women. They're doing this. They're doing that.
They say that. I mean, and I've heard this in all different. I heard this with the Nubians. I heard this in the Kemetic science with the SAR set society, where you had the priests in the SAR set society talking about they were reading things and telling the men that the reading was the conclusion that you can have this man wife. I done seen gross misconduct in all walks of life. Now, when you talk about the Israelites, because they're more on the mainstream, because they're out on the street corners, and Israelites, I mean, to be honest, as a group versus the others, they're more in numbers when you come dealing with social media, because a lot of these younger men and women that's coming up in the hood, a lot of them see these Israelites on the street corner. Like if you go downtown Detroit, you're going to see the Israelites. You go to Chicago, you're going to see the Israelites. New York, Philly, Canada, I don't care. Here in Africa, the street corner Israelites are here in Africa. You can go to Dar es Salaam right now. IUIC is there. You can go to Kenya. They're in Kenya. You can go.
Here's the question though. So what is the tenet? I mean, when it comes down to DIMONA, okay? Because we've seen like some of the rhetoric that came from some of the Western first or whatever Israelites. What
One West.
One West. When we come down to the women, what is the actual belief? Should women just be silent? And what?
No, we don't believe that. That's a New Testament teaching. We Old Testament and base. The women keep silent that come from the teachings of Paul. We don't acknowledge that. Our sisters are educators. They're doctors. They're lawyers. They're engineers. We don't have that. Like if you come to DIMONA and if let's say the ideas that you get on social media about the Israelites, most Israelites in DIMONA, they don't even really follow social media on a level like that. So them beliefs and concepts would be foreign to them. Like if you even Israelites over here in Africa that live in communal rural areas, if you be like, for instance, yeah, the 12 tribe chart, the Indians and these people are Israelites, the Polynesians, they're like, huh? They don't even have an idea or a clue about that. That's something that's isolated on social media and on the United States streets. And it has crossed overseas. I'm not going to lie. It has crossed overseas but it hasn't affected the actual Israelite communities that have been over here, because these Israelite communities been over here for thousands of years. And then the community that I'm a part of in DIMONA has been over here close to 60 years. So we've been grounded and established for so long that there's no penetration of that with us over here.
So I'll ask you a question that's even beyond just the Hebrew Israelite thing. Why do you think that the male in these societies, Islam, Hebrew, Christian, otherwise, want to mute out the feminine aspect? Why do you think that?
That's a good question. I want to make a slight correction. That's not the Hebrew community. That's a misinterpretation that some people have through their Christianization has imposed that on Hebrew thought. So let me take it back. Let me take it back where this all stemmed from. Originally, the matriarchic system nor the patriarchic system existed. These are two concepts that developed later. And our understanding as Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationals, the original idea of oneness or to run a society was Edenic in base. Everything had polarity or duality. So both men and women were equal, but they had different roles, but the responsibility was shared. So what happened, one polarity within this realm started to dominate over another polarity. The masculine polarity was psychological, right? As well as intellectual. The feminine polarity was emotional and spiritual. So this domination first developed the matriarchic system. That's why you see the oldest deities are female, because out of this Edenic oneness, there was a tilting of the axis, so to say, imbalance that born the matriarchic system. This is during the antediluvian root epic. So we're talking roughly 12 million BCE. You're starting to see this. And as time develops, now you're seeing the patriarchic system starting to develop roughly around 1 million BCE. And what's taking place was the patriarchic system was trying to bring forth a balance that the matriarchic system caused the imbalance. And in that turn, they became imbalanced because the patriarchic system became male dominant, whereas though the matriarchic system was feminine dominant. So now we over here in DIMONA, Israel, is saying the matriarchic system is wrong and the patriarchic system is wrong. We are Edenic in base, where there was a balance of masculine and feminine, even though we trace our lineage patrilineally, we're not patriarchic. So we're going back to that oneness, so to say, when both men and women were both responsible. When you're talking ha'adam, you're talking the positive, negative, the masculine and feminine, the yin, the yang, the inverted, the horizontal. If there's a king, there's a queen, a princess, up, down, left, right, and out, whatever the case may be, you will always have that duality and polarity. But the matriarchic system fell. The patriarchic system fell. So now we, the children of YISRA'EL, over in DIMONA, Israel, and throughout Africa, that's connected to our community in DIMONA, we're saying now, let's get back to the Edenic oneness, when both men and women together ruled as God on earth, as in the heavens. So yes, you do have people that misuse, misunderstand, and what the brother said, you just have to discern the spirit. And that's why the Messiah said, not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, yeah. And that's another thing, like with us, And see, and that's another thing. Like with us, we don't acknowledge like one Messiah, so to say. In Tehillim, or Psalms chapter 105, verse 15, it says, touch not my anointed ones and do my prophets no harm. The King James Version, they give it to you in the singular, but in the Ivrit, it says Mushakim, which means anointing. All the kings of Israel were anointed. That's why when you go into Devarim or Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 36 and 37, it says, I will make you and your king go into a strange land which neither you nor your fathers have known, and there you will worship idols, even wood and stone, and I will make you an object of horror, a proverb in the Bible amongst the nations of the earth. So what is happening? You're seeing that the anointed will come in the midst of us. That's why J. Edgar Hoover in 1958 created COINTELPRO, which was the counterintelligence program to stop the rise of a black messiah who would electrify the nationalistic aims of black America. That's why he killed Malcolm, huh? That's why he killed King, huh? That's why he set up Hugh, because he was looking, or the astronomers in the White House peep, that amongst foundational black Americans, this anointed one would come from out of the ashes of the tribe of Judah from amongst black Americans. And this is why when you read in Zechariah or Zechariah chapter 12, verse 7, you see that the tents of Judah would be first. So this is what you're seeing. You're seeing this experience and this upward, or this forward and upward motion of us leaving from America and coming back to the only way to understand this in all possibility is you have to come and see it for yourself. That's the only way.
I just want I have one question before we like go, and I want you to tell me what this makes you feel like when you see this picture. I want you to tell me how this makes you feel.
Okay. See, I mean, us in the Hebrew Israelite community, we don't do that. You know what I'm saying? And I know that's in.
No, I didn't ask you what you do. I'm asking you how does it make you feel? Now you know that there's a female underneath this. How does it make you feel?
I mean, for me, it's unacceptable in our culture, but for their culture, that's them. Remember, we first, before we as a people, before we can start, like, I'm not saying we're judging, but what I'm saying is looking at other people, we got to get our own backyard clean. Remember,
listen, let me tell you something. It's not judging. Let me tell you something.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm not, so you'll understand. I'm not saying you. I'm saying we as the chosen people of YISRA'EL, the so-called Negro that's scattered throughout the Western Hemisphere, we have to get our backyards clean. So then this image right here can stop, because you got to look, even in our negativity. I'm over here in Africa, right? And every country I went to in Africa, they're all trying to be like foundational Black Americans, hands down. In our most negative condition, the world is trying to be us. So just imagine if we got ourselves together and be the true sons and daughters of the light that we were so destined to be, the Elohim on this planet in righteousness. Then the nations of the world would imitate us in righteousness. And these type of examples we wouldn't even see. But yeah, that I don't accept that at all. And that's degrading from my perspective. You know what I'm saying? Now, their perspective and their beliefs, it might be something different. I'm just saying.
You know that we are not that far from this. We have people over here right now. We have people like Myron Gaines, that is a Sudanese refugee. His family came over here, and he's talking about how like disgusting that we are as the women are like dressed like this, and he really wants to impose this type of thing. I believe that more and more as society begins to grow more and more, this is not that far of a reality for the women.
Well, what we got to do as a people, if women don't want to, if there's a problem, I just feel as though right now we have to clean up our own backyard first. I'm gonna be honest, and I'm not trying
when you have a red pill that always are talking about like that women are whores and this, that, the other. When you have people in the corner calling them sluts, and because they just walked up with some shorts on or whatever, like this is the opposite of that. Okay, this what this breeds a culture where you want to mute out. Okay, you want them to be just non-existent. You want women to be non-existent. You want them to be dressed in black, looking through a curtain, and walking around as if they don't exist. And the only thing that you would see is men walking around, period. And that is exactly feel like the modern society wants to happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Death to America. And what do I mean by that? All this has to happen for America to be destroyed. Now, that might sound harsh to people, right? But every nation on the planet before they fell into the most diabolical, wicked state. When you look at all the ancient empires, they all fell because of unrighteousness and wicked lifestyle. Their end result, when you look at the end result of all power, if you talk about Kemet, we talk about Kemet, 1446 BCE, Assyria, 722 BCE, Babylon, 586 BCE, Medo Persia, 444 BCE, Greece, 332 BCE, the Roman Empire, when you get 146 BCE, and then the Roman Empire gets broken up into 10 kingdoms because you got the Goths, the Vandals, the Visigoths, all of them, they destroy. When you look at them geopolitically, it was always the corruption of the government. The people can only do what the government can only do what the people allow. So once the people become corrupt and they create these corrupt systems, this is the outcome. There's no saving America. And when we look at the prognostications, it clearly say that 2/3 of our people are going to be destroyed. So what I advise those that don't want to live these type of lifestyles no more, repatriate, move to Dimona, move to Dimona. You know what I mean? Or move somewhere in Africa where you can live. Like I was just watching this special. It was like, I'm gonna say something. I watched this John Russell Simmons just did 5 months ago. And everybody said, he ran the Bali for whatever. I wasn't there. I don't know what's going on. I'm just talking about what the man built. The man built his own heaven. And the way he hooked it up, I ain't gonna lie, it's dope. It's dope. And what I'm saying is, y'all better see that example and get up out of the United States, because United States is it's pushing towards a fascist government. You know what I mean? So you're going to have all these radical approaches. It's going to be an implosion, and it's going to be a domestic war, race wars. All that is brewing in the United States, and you can see it on social media. So that image that you showing on that sister, that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's just the tip of the iceberg. But what I'm saying to so-called Black Americans, we have to now fight for ourselves now. We have to fight for our own backyard. And I'm not trying to please nobody, take me wrong. Right now, I'm not concerned about the other nations right now. Right now, I'm only concerned about FBA and what are we doing, and those that are in the diaspora that go back to that same E1B1A lineage. But first and foremost is FBA. And once we are in that seat of power where we need to be at, then I can concern myself with the other nations of the earth. But we're not in a position of power to be concerned about. Listen, that image you showed, you'll see people dressed like that all over here.
But now you have a new president, Kamala Harris, that they're trying to make into president. You have her about trying to get into office, and you have Black people really trying to push her. let's get into it. So everybody's saying that she's not African American. Trump,
She's not.
But hold on. Now, in her 2025, let me show you this. She agreed to reparations. Trump did not. I don't know whether she disagreed. She said tax fueled reparations. Trump is against reparations. So I think that right now is so here's the thing. We have like Cornel West, we have other like people like running for president. But for some reason, we're only talking about Kamala and Trump. We're not talking about the independent. Now, back when Ross Perot was running, you know what I'm saying, we heard his name amongst the three candidates.
That's a fact.
When Bernie Sanders was running, we heard his name too. But now all of a sudden, all you hear is Kamala and Trump. It's making it seem like you only have one or two choices. And here's the thing: it's like it's like the lesser of two evils.
That's a fact. Yes, and that's absolutely true. But you want to know why? You want to know why? Because when you read in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse, see, we don't want to admit that our history is peculiar. And I'm gonna be straight up. I'm gonna say because we the chosen people of YISRA'EL. And I get into all that another time. I don't want to. That's a whole nother discussion. But the whole point that I'm saying, right, is they're never going to let a foundational Black American in that office. Never. Cornel West is not going to be the president. That's it. When Obama was president, you heard him, the first African American, he was not African American. His mother was cousins to the Bushes. She was a white woman, and his father was from Kenya. This is a fact. He wasn't a now his wife is a foundational Black American, Michelle Obama, but Barack Obama was not a foundational Black American. Kamala Harris is not a foundational Black American. Her father's people are Irish and East Indian, and her mother is East Indian. So she doesn't have any Black. They lie, and they keep trying to put that Burr Finnegan picture up there, and they know damn well that's not even her grandmother. So these games that these people play with identity politics and race politics, the reality is our people need to stop choosing the lesser of two evils and separate themselves and create self-governmental autonomy. Every nation on the planet has a government except foundational Black Americans. They are being depressed and oppressed inside of a country that doesn't have no heart for them. They cannot go to the same people who built their foundation or their bedrock on the backs of bones, or they standing on top of bones. They rob, they murder, they rape, they molest, they pillage. They did all this to build the United States. Okay, to build the United States. And now y'all seeking justice from a person or a group of people who never built the country by the way of justice. Didn't they just execute yesterday or the day before yesterday Mr. Williams in front of everybody, and the evidence clearly showed through DNA that that man wasn't even at the scene of the crime, and they still murdered them. What they're doing to Puff Daddy and to that man, and now the mayor of New York City is a modern day social media lynching. And I don't agree with Puff Daddy, but he is the puppet on the string. So who's the puppet master? See, our people are always going to lay waist deep as long as they look at the effects of the cause versus the cause. That's like pharmaceuticals. When you dealing with pharmaceutical companies, they are specialized in doing what? To detect and treat. They will never give you the bomb to cure your problem. Why would they tell us that we the Israelites? Why would they tell us to leave from the confines of America and self? We spent $5.9 billion last year on Christmas toys alone. So we don't have an economic problem. We keep trying to get these same people that enslaved us to save us. No, what we need to do is take our physical accoutrements, separate ourselves by the way of demarcation stations, self-govern ourselves. Every other nation has done it. Why can't we create our own government? That's the whole purpose of DIMONA. That's the blueprint. And what we do is we build. That's not the finishing part, but that's the foundation. And then we can build on that. And that's what I've told Sinetta and many of them at the end of the discussion, after the philosophical masturbation. At the end of the day, we're going back to our miserable lives, our miserable job. We are inside of an empire growing. It's like a man in prison, right? I'm gonna use this analogy that I always use. Picture a man in prison. He has 10 to 20 years. And he walks off 10 years in prison straight and narrow. And he wound up becoming from a level 4 to a 2MC. So now he got outside clearance. He cleaning up the community. He building the fences. And if there's any type of problem in the prison, he fixing it. He maintaining the prison. And that's good. And that's okay to him. Because he's a 2MC now. And he's close to going home. So now he goes to the parole board. And the parole board say to him, oh man, for this 10 years, you've been walking straight and narrow. And you got your GED, you got some college credits, you a 2MC, you up do this for the prison, that, and you're doing that and this. We're recommending you to be immediately paroled. And then the inmate, because inmate means being in the matrix, right? You're an inmate, right? He looked at them parole board members in their eye and say, what? I ain't going nowhere. I'm a 2MC. I built the prison. You see them fences out there? I built them fences. When the toilets break, I built that. I make sure they fix. When the inmates is hungry, I make sure they fed. When an inmate want a sandwich, I go get that. I do this, that, the third. I ain't going nowhere. The point that I'm expressing, right, is that's Black America. They look at themselves because they built America, their hell on earth, that they feel as though that's their birthright when it's not. That was the devil birthright that brought you he brought you in captivity to build his heaven while you lay waist deep in hell. And now you trying to lay claim on a birthright that never even belonged to you. The flesh of the United States don't belong.
No,
so we gotta leave. I'm saying we gotta leave from the confines of the United States. When has the mission changed? I thought that's what Marcus Garvey. I thought everybody predicate they shit on Marcus Garvey. He wasn't trying to integrate and be into the system.
So what do you think about she with the FBA movement? He's saying that, you know what, she said, Jackie said, you better teach, honey. Listen, you need to get on Tariq Nasheed's thing and let him know, like, why are we trying to stay? Because Tariq Nasheed, like, FBA, and then he talking about, okay, you're a tether and this, that, the other. And I'm like, bro, like, so
everything has, the reality is everything has its place and purpose. Shout out to my man Tariq Nasheed. You know what I mean? Everything has its place and purpose because the reality is many people that are labeled as tethers are coming into the United States reaping the benefits of where Black Americans established. And they come in there very disrespectful. And this is not just a thing that they do in the United States. You can even see this in Africa because you got to remember the people over here, they've been brainwashed too. When they look at Black Americans, they look at us as, you know, that they literally tell their children, the adults over here, don't mess with foundational Black America. I'm telling you facts. I'm on the ground. I'm telling you facts. I'm not telling you no opinion. They've been deceived in Africa too. And see, and you have people in Africa think, oh, you can't tell them nothing about Africa because they born in Africa. That don't mean nothing. The prophecy clearly say that there'll be a time and a half a time that the Euro Gentile will rule. And then when you go into Daniel chapter 12, we clearly see that it said knowledge shall run to and fro, knowledge shall increase. So now what are you seeing? You're seeing this gross misconduct coming from foreigners and looking, by the way, at this disdain of foundational Black Americans. They wouldn't even be able to come over here and by the way, immigrating if it wasn't for the Blacks of foundational Black Americans. So when I see Tariq Nasheed, and I'm not saying I agree with everything he say, because I don't, but I agree with a lot of things that the man's saying, because the reality is for too long, they've been feeding and stepping on the backs of foundational Black Americans and not giving respect to where respect is due. And that only proves that foundational Black Americans are in fact the children of Israel, because we are the ones that gave the world the right to be free. That was us. We did that. We did that. So all the immigrants that come over to the United States, that was foundational Black American work. Our brothers and sisters was getting lynched, raped, ravaged, hung. They don't need, let me tell you, the brothers and sisters over here don't even know the devastating effects that have taken place amongst Black America. They don't even have a concept. They don't even have a concept. I'm telling y'all listen, the stuff that they know about Black people over here is that we entertainers, basketball stars, and we selling drugs. Our women are hoes. This negative stereotype. And guess what? They'll say all these things about us, but at the same time, in the open, they trying to be just like that. When you look at the younger generation over here in Africa, you know who they trying to be like? Cardi B, Nicki Minaj. Most of these younger generation, those over here in Africa, done lost their way. They lost their way. That's why we, the children, foundational Black America, we are the key to stop all this worldwide confusion. The reason why all this is going on, because of why you think the world waits for us, even when it comes to politics. And speaking of politics, shout out to Janet Jackson. And I'm asking a question. Why is it when the election always come around, why is it that they always got to get the opinion of us? Why did that woman trap our sister in a discussion to talk about Kamala Harris? You don't do that to chat.
On top of that, why is it that every time there's an election, why do a bunch of Black people start getting fucked up by the police?
Right. You don't go to Jet Li. You don't go to no other ethnic group and ask about, what do you think about global warming? What do you think about Kamala? Why do we have to? Because we really the salt of the earth. We really the salt of the earth. We just don't know that. But those in power, they know exactly who you are. And speaking of reparations, what price can we put on losing our identity, our language, and the sciences of life? I say what we need to demand is to the keys to the archives of the Vatican, Cambridge, Yale, the University of Berlin, because in them vaults, they know exactly who you are. Everybody trying to be you except you. And that's a fact. So I'm gonna leave this, man, I didn't even know it's like 5:30 in the morning. And yeah, you know.
Much love. I appreciate you, Prince. I appreciate you, Mighty Hebrew. Thank you so much. Jackie said she can't hear you, but I hope that maybe she can come back and do the replay. Because I've heard you loud and clear. This has been a very beautiful build tonight, and I hope many more.
I can't wait until the Minister of Health come next. That's gonna be dope. Oh man, I ain't even gonna talk. You gonna do all the talking with that. You know what I mean? I'll just sit back and just enjoy, get me some popcorn, and just sit back and just listen. You know, sit back and
tomorrow on Friday we have Baba Amin. We have Baba
I seen
Amin.
that.
Now,
I seen that.
owns the Uhuru Academy, and he teaches young children African, the whole thing about African history. But he started off his school in Fort Worth, and like the Dallas area. He moved to North Carolina, But yeah, we want to. Who does he have a YouTube? Does who have a YouTube?
They probably ask me. Yeah, I got a YouTube, but also if you can, DJ Genesis, you know what I'm doing with the farmhouse over here. If you want anybody to donate to me, they can. I'm still raising up $230. So
listen, please support what he's doing. He has his land in Tanzania. Please support his movement. What's your cash app?
Right. You got the cash app. You got the cash app. So if you want to give it to him, y'all can. It's very much appreciative. DJ Genesis already donated 50. It was 280. Now it's down to what, 240, something like that. So I'm almost at my mark. I'm trying to get it. I got up to the second. So I'm trying to get this. I got most of the money. So I've been working real hard.
What's the cash app? What's the cash app? What's the cash app?
Remember, it's $ Uriah Victorious. Remember? The Uriah, the U is capitalized and the V is capitalized. And you'll see the name Vincent Woods. When you
did I spell that right? Uriah Victor. It don't matter if it's capitalized or not, but is that the right spelling?
Yes. You sure it don't matter? Yeah, Uriah Victorious. And they should see the name. Matter of fact, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna put it right here so y'all can see it. Hold on. I'm gonna make sure that's it. But yeah, it's definitely an honor. I loved it. I love it when the elders come on because it shows that's another thing we lack in our community, because this newer generation, they forgot about learning from the elders. When you ever seen that Shaolin monk move without the abbot, so to say? You know what I'm saying? So you always need, that fire, so to say. You need that abbot. And a lot of times we lose focus of that. We lose focus of the elders. And a lot of us say, man, the hell with the elders. They're old. They're stuck in their ways. Do you see it, DJ Genesis? What I just sent to you? That's it right there. You see it? I put it in the you see it?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. Did you spell it? Did you spell it like that?
I think so.
Make sure, and you all see the name Vincent Woods. Put that one up there so that it don't get no confusion. It won't be no confusion. Yup, that's it right there. You know what I'm saying? So anybody
don't put the comma. Don't put the comma though. The comma.
Don't put the comma. Don't put the comma. No, take that out. Take that comma out. No comma. I forgot to remove that. The comma don't belong there. But like I said though, is very important. We're doing a lot of big things over here. I can't wait for y'all to get over here. It's going to be beautiful. But I'm going to leave from the presence of y'all. Shalom. I got to get some sleep. Ashe. Man, it's going on 6 in the morning. Oh, my gosh. I'm going to sleep. Shalom.
All right. What you got to say is DJ, take us out of here.
Man. DJ, man, you should play one of my songs. DJ Genesis.
You gotta say, DJ, take us out of here.
Oh, DJ, take us out of here.
Alchemize your energy. Darling, let your spirit be free. Don't give up. Keep on pushing through. Now is the time. It's all up to you. Alchemize your energy. My friend, let your spirit be free. Don't give up, keep on pushing through. Now is the time, it's all up to you. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, we will always take flight. Keep on pushing through the darkness of night. There's no limit, let's reach for the sky. Shine so bright, from darkness to light. I love who I am. I'm loving me. Look in the mirror, unapologetically. Love what I see. Love who I am. I am invincible. I am a fan. My curves and my features, God makes no mistakes. I am successful. I am what it takes. I'm bulletproof. I'm 100 proof, and I love who I see because I'm living my truth. I'm invincible. I'm incredible. A star in the making. I reach past the clouds. I'm invincible. I'm incredible, and no one can stop me. Can stop me now. I'm invincible. A mission, I'm trying to get it right. Transition, changing the way that I see life. Transition mind. I'm on a mission, trying to get it right. I'm transitioning my life. Making a transition. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Making a transition. Ooh, 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 ooh. Making a transition. Ooh, 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 ooh. Making a transition. Trying a mission, a mission. I'm on a mission, on a mission.